button.
So without getting too deep into the games, the PlayStation 5 reveal was the other day.
Yes.
And now we all finally know what it looks like.
All right.
What did you guys think? Yeah.
All right.
No, I was going to say,
do
in
the
one
3,
word.
2, 1, and we'll all at the same time say the word that describes it.
Okay.
Okay, ready?
Yeah.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
Router.
Awesome.
Sorry.
And I knew I would be alone.
I was going to say majestic. Maybe the odd man out.
No, it really does look like a fucking router.
Yeah, it does.
Or something, a part of the environment in Mass Effect.
Well,
maybe.
here's the thing, Chris. You're not 100% alone. I hate to say it. I think that thing's growing on me.
No.
It's so cool.
I've been
Oh
staring
my
at
God,
I've been
you
staring at that
guys.
thing. Here's the thing. I maintain the thing I said when we first saw that reveal. It's ugly and wildly impractical.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
No
But-
doubt. It's impractical, of course.
The memes.
All right, so I was
And
about
B,
to...
it's just like, it's so stupid I'm starting to love it.
That's what I was about to say. I was like, are all the Photoshops out there? Is that the thing that's changing your mind? Because at this point, it almost feels intentional. Like they wanted people to remember it by
Yes.
making that.
Well-
it's the fucking video game version of peacocking. Like
They said...
I'm telling you, no.
They wanted to design it for what the tech will look like in the coming decade, not what tech looked like in the past
that's not
decade.
what that looks like. What people in the 50s thought the 80s would look like.
Yeah.
Yes,
like,
yes, and that's cool. Here's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
This isn't
Here's what I'm
Cyberpunk
done.
is shit,
this
dude.
isn't Epcot at Disney World. No, it's too sterile to be
I'm
Cyberpunk.
done with
It looks
fucking
like
boxes,
something.
dude.
It looks like something out of the Star Wars prequels. Is that
It
better?
looks like one of the loot boxes, the many loot boxes I had to buy in Battlefront
It does
2.
look like the Battlefront 2 loot boxes.
Star crates was it?
Star Crates?
I don't remember.
You think when I purchase it, I'll get Vader level 4?
See, here's the thing. I know I bitch a lot about industrial design, but this is subverting that too far in the opposite direction for me.
Absolutely
because
not. It is so cool.
Just think about like Intergalactic going in the background and them doing the reveal of it. And you say to yourself, damn, dude, that's fucking hot.
Like, I know I play video games, but I still want to be able to have people over and also make it look like I have dignity and self-respect.
Nah, dude.
Wait a minute. If I came over to your
Clearly-
house and all your fucking electronics look like that, I'd be like, holy shit, why am I not wearing like a plasticky see-through jacket? Because this place is fucking punk as shit.
Yeah.
Like,
That's the thing. We are no longer in the time of dignity. This is the 2020s now. Have you seen how this year has started?
All right, well, then no one's allowed to make fun of the Alienware
No, I think
cases
that-
ever again. Then.
Your roommate's computer looks like a jet engine and sounds kind of like one when it boots up.
It
And
probably
I think
glows like a
that's
jet engine
also
on fire.
cyberpunk as shit. So
that's what I'm saying, dude. I'm done with boxes. Fuck the Xbox. Fuck this eraser. Fuck cubes and stuff. I want
also
something
hate
cool.
the eraser. Whoa. Yeah, you don't
I
make
thought I heard something about fucking the cube.
No, that is
Excuse me?
yeah, that's
the
my one
GameCube's
problem
the
with the
best looking
PlayStation
console
5.
ever
It
made.
doesn't have a fucking handle.
Exactly.
Imagine if it did. Would you feel better about it?
would look-
And if it did
would-
have a handle, it'd be made of like hard light from like
It's not
Mass
some-
Effect or
It
Halo.
true.
or
looks
something.
it looks like they straight up forgot where to put the disc drive.
It looks like their
They
target.
did.
It looks like their
They
target
just
audience
threw it on there. It's great.
is.
my
I'm
God.
coming around.
vertical or horizontal.
Either way, you need a stand.
I would
It's
laugh.
so impractical,
I would
dude.
laugh if when it's horizontal, it just shreds discs. But like, tell me that console. It looks like it's designed for like Back to the Future, like Biff's friend who wears the 3D glasses.
Yeah.
It looks like
What are
he's
you,
just like,
chicken?
this console is sweet.
Yeah.
It's also massive.
It looks like instead of yeah, it is.
yeah.
Oh, it's fucking humongous. It looks
Yeah.
like instead of putting a disc in, it like projects the game around the room around you.
Yeah.
like
That's the thing.
it's so cool.
I guarantee
God.
you, if that thing had a handle, it would break off. That thing has to weigh like 20
well,
pounds.
here's the last thing I'll say about it. It matches the controller.
And it does.
All right, now the controller is awful. I will give you that. The
Wait,
controller
it's
is stupid.
aesthetically like the same.
Here's the thing.
It's not the aesthetic. It's just too round. Honestly, I like the PS4 controller.
One of the reasons I'm coming around on it is the same reason that I kind of came around on the controller, which is only that.
They copied Xbox like halfway,
Yes, it did. I don't like.
which that's the best
I
controller.
don't like the
Xbox
dual
controller,
tone
so.
color. I don't like white on black.
The console's white on black
I know,
with blue.
but eventually they might come out with an all black one, and I think that'll look good.
Yeah.
Or like a
But
gunmetal.
by then you'll already have one.
I know, and I'll look at it every time, and it'll just remind me that I'm an idiot.
Well, all right,
Yeah,
what are your
the all
what are
black
all-
version of that console looks like it's gonna hop on a motorcycle and like assassinate like a banker or something.
All right, well, let's take
You're
our
just
bets
gonna
now.
pull
So
a
this is
samurai
recorded. What do we all think the price is going to be?
I
$600.
thought I saw pre-orders for $699.
That I was gonna guess
I
like
think that's a placeholder. I'm gonna say.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna say.
It is 2 SKUs.
I'm gonna say $550 for the digital discless one,
6 for the
$6 for the regular one.
That's a good bet.
$599 US
I'd
dollars.
probably agree with you on
$599
that.
US dollars.
I agree with that. I think that's a good bet.
Yeah.
I think
that's not
they'll
far off.
definitely have a tiered approach, right?
Yeah.
Obviously with like the no disc variant, and then probably like a bundle package that comes with like a game and a controller that you'll.
No,
save
they don't
more
really
money.
do that on launch.
No.
They'll do it in like usually 6 months after launch to a year. Like the following Black Friday, they'll definitely package it in with like the next Destiny.
Yeah, they do
expansion or
bundles
something.
when they're just like, well, we don't want to lower the price of the console. We still want to make our money, but we want to add more value. So
All we got to do is line up whenever Sony Pictures puts out a shit movie,
Oh, that's often.
and then and then they'll put out a bundle to offset it in their quarterly earnings.
you could just take the word shit out of that. It means the same thing. Sony doesn't make good movies. Did Sony make the Terminator movie we watched?
Well, no, Fox owned the Terminator license before Disney bought it, right?
I don't know.
Shit. Or is
That was a shit
Or is that
movie.
Universal? Because
Well, that's just been owned by every worst company.
they had a Universal Studios ride, right?
yeah. The
Oh,
Terminator
yeah, it
ride.
is Universal.
So it's gotta be.
Right.
God,
Fucking Comcast.
That movie
Was that
sucks.
Wait, was the Terminator ride the one where you had the guns before it was Spider-Man?
No.
See, this is what makes.
No, that's the Terminator Salvation arcade machine.
All right, this is what makes the shit
I
so
think the Men in
complicated.
Black ride was the one with guns.
That was,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Terminator was the one that it was a show.
It was kind of a show.
A 3D
And also,
movie show thing.
check it out. Paramount Pictures, Skydance Media, 20th Century Fox, TSG Entertainment, Lightstorm Entertainment, and Tencent.
Who's Paramount owned by?
Viacom.
So 10 cents.
I just don't like white.
Oh, for
Tech.
Well, the problem too is it looks glossy, so you know the second you pull it out of the
No, it's
box,
not.
it's gonna be. Really, it's matte.
It's Matt.
Well, all right, now
not
that's
my roommate, not his brother. Talking about Matt with an E.
What about a semi-gloss finish, huh?
No. Did you see the controller? Somebody zoomed in super close on the high-res picture of the controller. The back has grip texture on it, and it's made out of tiny little X's, squares, circles, and triangles. Because
Really?
those are the 4 buttons. I don't know if you knew that.
I know that from watching that presentation because
Yes.
in between every game reveal was a montage of those 4 symbols. And I also I do find it funny that I didn't know that about the controller, but they did make sure to zoom in and be like
USB port.
USB port.
Yep.
Like
Why is it that every game company has a different schematic for ABXY or X circle, triangle, square?
Patents, probably.
yeah,
It's
probably.
just
I don't know.
patents.
What do we look
Might
like?
be
A
patents.
video game podcast when we look at stuff like that? Why are you asking us?
Speaking of,
Yeah, who was
Let's get
that
into
fourth
our-
voice? Nobody even introduced me.
this is Hot Button. I'm Randall Beatrice here with Austin Blakesley,
Yo.
Chris Anantuano,
Hey.
and we are rejoined by previous guest, co-host, expert, legal document reader, as well as enthusiast of all things corruption in the video game player versus player industry, Mr. Chris Neuteboom.
I feel like I should start by like going like, hello.
Yeah, this is the second corruption story you've been a part of. I'm starting to think you have a little bit too much insider information, if you know what I mean.
So, match fixing is nothing new to the wide world of sports. From baseball's Black Sox scandal all the way back at the 1919 World Series to the more recent FIFA's 2006 World Cup, people will always try to stack the odds in one way or another, only to later get caught most of the time. Well, we're all here to tell you today that esports is no different, and frankly, often just as insane and hilarious. So, Chris, it is good to have you back. Are you ready to talk about the crookedness, the shadiness, and the craziness that was plaguing and eventually unearthed, found in a couple of the core games that truly launched electronic sports into the gargantuan business that it is today? StarCraft Brood War and StarCraft II, Korea's favorites. From misguided miners and top athletes to the team coaches down to the commentators and even the goddamn Korean government, we'll be discussing it all as we journey down the path of just how a few pro gamers managed to turn the entire esports scene on its head and rack up some jail time in the process. So where to start? Me and Chris, me and Axelrod Killfist, or whatever your name was before, I forget. It was Chris was Chainsaw, you're just Chris. Is that the... We were messaging each other and thought that a good place to start, just to really set the stage of where we are now, would be to jump back to the neon-lit, nostalgia-obsessed 1980s, where competitive gaming was really first starting to take off.
Yeah. Get ready for it.
Yeah.
This goes deep.
This goes deep. Yeah.
I don't want to expose my sources, but like a lot of translation went into this, and people had not very nice things to say about all the people involved.
Oh, that's always fun when you take a foreign topic and then just add an extra step.
Now try reading court documents in Korean.
No.
Oh, God,
horrendous.
no.
It's horrendous. But
Reading them in English is horrendous.
oh my God, yeah, it's way worse. But to take us back, so esports as a whole started back in the 1980s with the Twin Galaxies generation.
Yes, yeah. Formed in 81 by Walter Day, I think was his name. He was not actually a player, I don't think.
Nope.
Twin Galaxies is kind of the handler of the Guinness Book of World Records related stuff to games. They supply and verify everything from official speedruns to tournament stats, and they're still going strong as we speak, you know?
Yeah. What differentiated them was in order to get validated by them, you had to send in a tape recording of you playing.
Yes.
This
Yeah.
is before the internet. This is before Twitch, before
Oh,
streaming.
God, what a time.
So you have the tapes, bro. You got to have the tapes, bro.
Yeah.
And they had a close connection with Guinness Book of World Records. And also, at the time, the U.S. made a national video game team for about 2 years back in the early 80s.
Okay.
Which is, where you get some of our favorite characters involved in there.
Yeah, I know this is a lot of rivalries.
That sounds like a team that's
started to form. One of the most famous examples being
Peter Dinklage in my favorite movie, Pixels.
God
How
damn
did you know?
Yeah.
yeah, your boy.
My boy Billy Mitch and Todd Raj.
Yeah, I was going to
Billy
say,
the
if you look
Kid.
at the Twin Galaxies on Google, Billy Mitchell's Donkey Kong scores removed is above the About Twin Galaxies section.
Yeah.
I know we talk about it a lot, but we really do need to do a rewatch of King of Kong.
Yeah, we're
I'm
gonna-
not watching Pixels.
No, not Pixels.
Pixels comes first.
We're probably gonna do our second commentary, or another commentary, I should say, for King of Kong.
You need to be careful.
We'll
Yeah,
prob-
which we
Billy
get-
Mitchell's known to sue. He's known to sue YouTube channels with 10K subscribers.
Yeah, you were talking to me about that. That's fucking wild.
gets our name out there, dude.
Anyone that criticizes him
Yeah.
and challenges him.
The only person who would be reading it would be me.
Yeah.
I mean, he was already exposed though. Like,
Yeah.
but this fucking character, you could do an entire podcast series on just his
Which
fucking
we probably will after
career.
the
His
commentary.
venture into his hot sauce.
Yeah.
Yeah, he made a career off playing video games for a living. I mean, what eventually broke this open, I don't want to get too far deep into it, was speedrunners. Modern day speedrunners.
Yes. Fuck yeah.
There's a few geniuses out there that data mine games, right? Like
Yeah.
looking at the
That
actual
doesn't
code.
surprise me. Yeah, speedrunners are pretty much sleuths is what they do, you know?
Yeah. If,
Yeah, and Peter Dinklage used a glitch in
we
Pixels
need
to
to-
make his car go faster
Oh my
in real
God.
life.
What about
We
Wreck-It
need
Ralph?
somebody who was good back in the day but didn't quite live up to their potential to save us.
I'd rather talk about Billy Mitchell's empire than Adam Sandler's empire.
What day
That's
is
where
it?
me and you
October?
disagree, I guess. Also, Billy Mitchell, you know the scene in Captain America where they had to CGI him with less muscles before he got the serum?
Yeah.
Billy Mitchell looks like that version of like a pro wrestler. For anybody out there wondering what he looks like a pro wrestler before they took the Captain America super serum.
That's true.
Doesn't he have a mullet?
He does.
He does.
Business in the front, party in the back.
Yeah,
All right.
he's got a mullet and a goatee.
He also wears the American flag tie a lot.
Oh my
Looks
God.
like if
Yeah.
looks like Macho Man if he was in Hercules and Hades took his powers. Remember that scene?
Yeah.
Bringing up movies in this one.
Yeah, the notorious. I hate to break it to you, but the King of Kong, it's scripted.
There's
Weeby was in on it.
There's a narrative to the way that movie is edited. I mean, it's also a little outdated just because new information has come out since it, but it's still a really engaging watch. Like,
So if you want to talk about like how people treated video games back in the day, this became major news in like what 2019. Like
wasn't
a year
that long ago,
Wasn't
yeah.
that long ago? People have confirmed that there's like a few people around the country who actually sent in tapes of like the perfect Pac-Man scores. So they call it
Yeah.
into the kill screen because after you reach like,
256.
256.
256, yeah, it goes like wonky and everything. And that's the max possible score you can get.
Yeah.
And they found a few people that actually sent in tapes before he sent in his because he was verified as the first person to ever do it. And you know what the people's responses were when they're like, yo, this guy, he was working closely with these guys and they blanked at your tape. All the people just went, oh. They were just all like, they were all like just full members of goddamn society, and they just didn't care. They played it for fun, and that's how they got away with it for so long, was because the only people who really cared about it were the people who like had, I guess, the most at stake, which ended up where we're at today with those guys.
I mean, one of the things that you're definitely proving here with all of these characters and everything from speedrunning to like the origins of these competitions is that there was indeed money to be made here.
Yeah.
But jumping just a few years later to the early 90s, some other folks wanted a piece of that esports pie too.
Corporations took their shot at it, and they fucked it up.
Yeah.
They fucked it up so bad.
All right, Chris, real quick. Esports question for you. I'm going to test your knowledge.
Hit me.
What's the name of the Quake player that popularized WASD?
Oh, my God.
And I don't know the answer.
This is a mid-90s
So-
question. We're still in the early 90s, sir.
So I know that Jonathan Fatality Wendell,
Was that it?
Who will come up. Yeah.
He popularized printer pads, giant mouse pads. That we
Oh,
use today.
shit.
Yeah. There's a few players in the scene like Wombat and Thresh and stuff like that. I don't know which one in particular, but I know that is a factoid. I have read that somewhere.
Oh, I'm going to look it up. Keep talking.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, so back to corporations fucking it up. When you talk about the Nintendo World Championships.
Yeah, which wouldn't be the first time they've messed this journey up, especially when you look at things
Yeah.
like how they handle Smash Brothers
It's a good
and stuff.
thing that Nintendo learned
But-
their lesson from the World Championships and that they didn't try to do it again in like 2016 and fuck that up as well.
I forgot about that. But hey, at least those old cartridges are worth fucking thousands now.
It's like 25 grand for the gold card.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was Thresh.
It was Thresh? Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, no, those carts are worth a lot of money if you can get your hand on them.
Yeah.
That is the true
There's
collectors.
a gray, a gold. They have the Super Nintendo one as well because they had like 91 and 94. It was 1990 and 94. I forgot.
It was one of those ones. They went to like different malls and they did like open tryouts, and then you got if you won there. You got
And it was
invited
like,
to another
here are
thing,
these
and-
almost weird ROM-looking hacks of Donkey Kong Country and Tetris and Mario Brothers, and they would all be like timed.
the Donkey Kong one was it had the timer at the top.
Yes.
And I believe towards the end, people figured out that the best way to rack up points was to essentially save as much time as you could and get to Tetris and then spend most of your time on Tetris, right?
Smart.
Because that's where you would
That's
like
what's
rack
up.
up the most.
It's funny because
Yeah.
you mentioned them taken around to places like a lot of those cartridges were later found because of like Blockbusters eventually shutting down or something like.
Tell me how Blockbuster got their hands on this. Like they have like some kind of cave of collectibles that they never
People
brought
wanted
out.
to work with Blockbuster. For a while, there were games that were only exclusively released under them. That's where you got shit like Clay Fighter, the
Sculptor's Edition?
Yeah, the Sculptor's Edition, and Daikatana 64 was.
And then they had the Pokemon Snap machines where you could print your pictures.
They did.
Yeah.
I was
Where do you think?
Interesting.
Where do you think those
and
are
funny
floating around?
enough, that last Blockbuster that exists is kind of like a movie artifact museum. Like they have a bunch of stuff that people send
Oh,
to
for a
them.
minute, I thought
Yeah.
you were talking about the Twitter account because the Twitter account's hilarious.
Oh, yeah, no, that is a great
the last
Yeah.
Blockbuster.
Yeah, at this point, I think it's like a franchisee because nobody really owns the license, so no one's like going after them.
There was like a board game that came out recently that's in a Blockbuster case.
Yeah.
it's very weird.
That is sweet.
Yeah, and then I think you wrote down that there were like TV shows that started to spring up, which
Yeah.
is definitely an example of the popularity becoming more widespread. Like now people want to watch people play, not just
Yeah, what Game Master, Games Master?
Yeah, so I had no clue what this was, but I'm kind of excited to hear about it if you know, because I don't know if it was like Nick Arcade. That's the closest kind of thing I can think of.
So it ran for a number of years. It ran until like 98.
Oh, that's later than I thought, actually.
Oh man, I can't even remember what like. I know it was about people obviously like playing video games and getting like Games Master Champion, but off the top of my head,
I mean, I guess it's not that important, but
watch.
yeah, well, I bet we could find it. It's likely syndicated somewhere.
Yeah,
You just watch The Wizard.
Yeah,
Ooh.
the Wizard.
Gonna keep bringing up movies. It's my bit now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
Also,
stealing
I know we
my
passed it
real.
to-
I know more about movies than you.
Fuck you. You're stealing my real life bit.
Oh my god.
How many times did you watch Pixels?
Once, and
A
I
half a time, I'll have you know you fell asleep during it.
was drunk.
I know.
I woke up and finished it.
I was stone cold sober and watched the entire
That was your
thing.
mistake. That's worse than a hangover.
Yeah.
Watching Pixels. But yeah, no. Coming off the heels of the arcade crash that happened, right?
Yeah, which I know we always keep talking about. One day we will do that episode.
Yes.
Play ET.
I think your brother has a copy.
He does. He beat it.
Oh my god.
He's a masochist.
He's an idiot.
Jesus.
Yeah,
is what
I
he
know.
is.
But yeah, there's a lot of.
If you're listening, Matt, you're dumb. Why would you beat E.T.?
I mean, why not? You could play the game with the original Easter egg in it too, because coders didn't get their.
Yeah, that's the game you want your name in.
And then there's also one. What is it? Is it literally just called
Adventure?
IRS?
Was the first.
Was like IRS or Tax Evasion was the game name, where your entire job was to dodge taxes.
I'm playing that right now. I'm kidding. I'm not.
Just kidding. I filed out all my forms.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, there's a lot of renewed focus into home consoles. Not a whole lot from this time.
Yeah. But I know next, and Austin, this will get into kind of what you brought up, is a couple years after this was the birth of the first-person shooter kind of began to...
Yeah, when video games finally became a legitimate hobby and not a nerd thing, right?
Many of which...
Yeah, I was going to say earlier, that first USA team, it was probably just like a bunch of bullies pushing a bunch of nerds in a room. Get good at video games for America.
This is when games were finally badass. But no, a lot of these we have covered on previous episodes. Check them out. We just recently did one on Duke Nukem and games like Half-Life and Counter-Strike a little after that. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I guess this is probably more like arena shooters, which is why Austin brought up Quake and stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, by the way, to get back to that,
Unreal.
Thresh is accredited with popularizing WSAD, but not necessarily creating it.
I didn't know
it's
that.
It's kind of unknown who created it. It seemed like it was kind of like universally coming. Everybody was drifting that way.
It could have been his buddy, and we'll never know. Yeah,
his friend. His friend did it, and he just like stole it. Yeah. No, he's Dennis Thresh Fong.
Dennis Fong.
Dennis Fong. Yeah, he's credited as the first professional esports player back in the day.
Yeah, didn't he have like Ferraris and shit?
He won John Carmack's Ferrari in the
That's
tournament.
right.
Yeah, you told me that story. Yeah. I thought I was losing my mind.
John Carmack put up his own car as the prize support for a tournament, which at the time was like legendary. People were like, "Oh my god!" In all reality, I guarantee you that Ferrari broke in like 2 years and he couldn't do anything.
I was gonna say I don't even.
No, it was a 328. Those things are beautiful. They're so fucking cool.
Really? So it's less like the one that Stefan Eriksson split in half. It's more. It's like.
But yeah, you also have Mark Wombat Larson come out from this time period. There's a lot of people in that arena. Mostly, the best way I think I could break it down is like Americans and then Scandinavians. They were the top. That was it. But across the sea, Korea's government started doing something which was hugely impactful in esports, which is they started funding and subsidizing infrastructure development, particularly broadband internet.
Ooh.
Yeah, which it doesn't sound
being
intuitive.
ahead of the curve.
Oh my god, they were way ahead of it. It's kind of counterintuitive.
Yep, and then they go, "We won. Let's stop now."
Oh man.
But then, what happened on March 31st, 1998, Chris?
Chainsaw?
No, I mean you.
Me.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I mean, the next coming of Christ happened. Starcraft was released.
Starcraft was released.
Yeah.
So, for those somehow not familiar, Starcraft, developed and published by company Blizzard Entertainment, is a 2D isometric real-time strategy game. Super cool military science fiction aesthetic. And calling it massively popular is almost an understatement. Or it is an understatement. It's sold over 11 million copies worldwide and is often cited on lists as one of the best and most important titles ever made. It also has a very high skill cap, and I like Chris's note here, a soundtrack that slaps, quote, which I totally agree. So before we go on further, what's everybody's kind of personal experience with that first release?
StarCraft 1 was the second PC game that I ever got into.
No shit.
The first being Diablo. Wait, what came out first? Diablo 2 or StarCraft?
I believe StarCraft.
StarCraft.
Then StarCraft was the first
They're
one I
both
got
98
into.
though, I think. Right?
Yeah, I got them in like 99. So I don't know. It was Diablo 2 and StarCraft at the same time. I played a lot of it, and then I stopped because I was bad at it and didn't understand how RTSs work.
Me too.
Yeah.
Also, Warcraft 3 came out.
I can't tell you how many times I played custom maps like Dragon Ball Z. But whoever was the host, Red was always Goku. So I always got stuck with like Orange, which is like player 6. So I had like Krillin. I couldn't do anything. Dude.
I played that custom game for sure.
Of course, they had all these different anime variants. It was the same map. They just changed the names. So you have like there's like a Yu Yu Hakusho one that I played for a long time. There was a whole bunch of custom games. I was terrible at the actual game. You know.
Yeah, me too.
I played the campaign almost exclusively for a long time, which was a good teaching tool to get to know it. So my brother bought it. My brother was big into Age of Empires and Civilization.
Mine, AOE 2.
I know. He got me into AOE 2 and Command and Conquer, which was my first RTS.
For anybody out there who is listening to this, if you like Age of Empires 2, you should check out a guy's channel named T90. Age of Empires is a thriving community. Age of Empires 2 competitive play.
Yeah.
Check out the Viper, Doubt, Tato. There's like more Scandinavians, ironically enough. But
they come up a lot.
Yeah, they come up a lot. But yeah, it's a great game.
Chainsaw, how about you?
Well, I was going to say, this is the game that got me into RTSs. And I was thinking, Age of Empires was obviously important, but I leaned more towards, I was like, this is cool. Especially because I'm like super into Warhammer, and StarCraft took all of its aesthetic from Warhammer.
Totally.
Whether or not through some sort of thievery or some sort of mutual benefit. But
telling you
it is
that
almost
Marines?
word for... What's that? Yeah, you're telling me the Space Marines that look like the Space Marines from Warhammer are those Space Marines?
I remember seeing
You're
Warhammer
telling me the Zerg
figures.
aren't the Tyranids?
when I saw Warhammer figures, I thought they were little StarCraft
You're like,
figures.
oh wow, they must have gotten this from StarCraft, and everyone there was just laughing.
I know.
And like, what?
I was probably more familiar with
Warhammer's
StarCraft
been
than
around as
Warhammer.
long as fucking D&D, so...
But
Yeah, no, StarCraft, just like you, Chris, I'm terrible at it. I'm like much better. Me and my roommate were actually on a StarCraft 2 multiplayer stint recently, like doing 2v2s, and like it just reminds me like how big the skill cap in that game is.
Yeah,
Like,
2v2s are fun.
You either seem to like steamroll or be steamrolled in that game, but like it's just an incredible strategy game. It definitely made me fall in love with RTSs, which is probably my number one game to this day.
It was very funny. Yeah, because I know you're a total war guy, too. Me and you, Chris, we were talking before this about the Command & Conquer Remaster that just came out.
Yep.
And what's interesting is that was 3 years before this. It was 95 when it came out. And what's funny is, like, it feels so quaint compared to StarCraft. I love Command & Conquer, but it's very simple and makes it extremely accessible. But that is a game that it's like you just circle all your units, tell it to attack one thing. Like, you know, it's so, like...
There's a joke in StarCraft, you know, like Protoss or... I should probably explain it first, but...
Yeah.
So,
all right, so I was...
all the buzzwords and all this stuff.
So
Right?
I was about to say...
Before you do that, when did Age of Empires come out?
Original?
97?
97?
Yeah, I think it was
Okay.
97.
So it was a year before StarCraft?
Yeah.
I never played Age of Empires. I played Age of Mythology, though.
That's the worst one.
Yeah, well, that's why I didn't play Age of Empires.
Yeah, so Chris, did you want to give us like a little bit of a rundown of just like who the playable factions are in the world of StarCraft?
Sure.
Yeah, it'll probably make things like going forward for maybe people
Yeah.
that just
So-
good refresher.
You have 3 playable races. There are 4 total in the game, just for keeping with the lore.
Yeah.
But first and obviously the most basic.
Hey, these are my boys.
I knew you were a Terran player.
I am a
know
Terran
it.
player.
You have Terrans, aka the humans, right? They're adaptable, they're mobile.
Yeah.
They don't have the most advanced technology-wise, but they make up for it with reasonably costed units.
If you're a Command & Conquer guy, that's where you start.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to manage a dumb economy.
Everyone hates it. Then you have Zerg, which are the aliens. They are the ever-evolving insectoids, so ass backwards with technology. Their main unit is Zergling. You get 2 for the price of 1.
They're adorable.
And they die very easily. But the strategy is to overwhelm them with enough cheap expendable units to win the game. It's where the term Zerging comes from, which probably has been replaced in today's vernacular with Smork. But same. Smork. Me smork, me go face.
What is that?
Sorry, Boomer. Zoomers only.
I
I know what Smork is.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
I'm so
If
sorry,
I explain
I'm
it, it's not
lost.
funny anymore.
No.
Yeah.
right.
Then you have the Protoss.
I'll go on Urban Dictionary later.
SM Orc. Yeah. The Protoss, so they're the advanced race of aliens. They're powerful, they're mysterious, they have super high tech with the strongest units and abilities, but they also cost the most resources.
And all of these play entirely differently
Yes.
from each other. It unlike Command & Conquer, or sorry, I should say unlike Age of Empires.
Yep.
But Command & Conquer, the nod and GDI play a little differently, but for the most part, collecting resources, powering your facility is the same. These are all just completely different play styles, which is really
100%.
neat. People never saw anything like that.
Then lastly, there are the Xel'Naga. They're the gods. They're literally unplayable in the game, but like I said, to keep the lore straight, they are technically the fourth
All right,
race.
ready?
I do love that Lovecraftian name. It's
Go
great.
around the table. We already know Randy's answer. Go around the table.
Yeah.
What's your faction of
I'm
choice?
curious about this. This will be like your sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says a lot about you.
I know it does. I'm not a Zerg player. I am a TOS player by heart, but I recognize how cheesy Terran is. Because,
Yeah.
look, for anybody out there,
their music
that
is
still
so good.
it's so good. This tune is so banging. But for anybody out there that still plays it, like 2-1 tank timings just destroy people. Siege tanks are broken. They could shoot past their vision.
Yeah, it's great.
On top of that, if you have high ground advantage, which people don't know, like
from Star Wars.
Yeah. Oh, I have the high ground. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're shooting up at a siege tank and they are at a higher level, it has a 50% chance to miss.
Yeah.
And siege tanks do 50 damage, and each of their armory increases it by 10. So, like,
there you go.
2-1 is 2 attack, 1 armor is a very important upgrade because there's a very big difference between 2 tank shots killing something and 3, and they start melting people. And then you get in this no man's land game where you just line up siege tanks and no one can move. And
that's the shit.
It's absolutely crazy. But the joke with Protoss is you just literally click attack move and you win. You don't have to do anything because they're just like the dumbest.
How about you guys? What do you two
Protoss?
Yes. You're a Toss guy
all day,
too?
every day.
Dude, my life for ire.
Yeah.
Chris, back me up here.
Terran.
Yeah.
I'm Terran, absolutely.
All right, we can all agree then, right? Zerg. Screw the Zerg.
Fuck Zerg.
Yeah.
Something about just harassing people with Vikings in StarCraft 2 would be a dub. It's just like so satisfying.
It really is.
I love constructing me some additional pylons, you know what I'm saying?
It's necessary. You got to get yourself an Artosis pylon.
Yep.
The infamous Artosis pylon. But yeah, so this wasn't the first real-time strategy that was out there. I'm not even going to kid you. I'm not going to get into that whole Herzog Zwei, Dune 2, some 1970s mainframe.
I love those deep cuts, though, man. That's
Dude, you got some people that are like, this is not the first.
I know.
You don't know anything.
Well, it's fun.
You don't know anything about MUDs.
Herzog Zwei, it was interesting you mentioned that one, like the flying base or whatever. It was a Genesis game. And Dune 2 was Westwood. That was the people who did later make Command & Conquer. But
yeah.
Also, Bungie made Myth. That was after StarCraft.
Oh, was it?
No, it was the same year. Was it?
I didn't play that one.
Nobody did.
I played Myst.
Oh, that's what I was thinking. I love Riven.
Yeah.
But no, this was the first game to really push the limits of what was possible with perfect gameplay.
Yeah.
The game.
Hey, CNC kicked ass, but I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. There is a CNC community out there that play like competitive CNC stuff, but like I kid you not, all of the videos are in like 240p, and I don't know why. And there's no like English presence there. I'm pretty sure it's all coming from
the
StarCraft
CG cutscenes are pretty good, but the FMV, man.
I'll say it. Command & Conquer sucks.
Thank you. I agree with you. I didn't want to be the one to say it. I'll let you take the heat.
Red Alert, they go back in time and then you fight the Russians and they got arc weapons and stuff. Yeah. And James Earl Jones and there's all kinds of...
Command & Conquer, do you know what they were known for? Like the gameplay of it? They were known for creating the best algorithm for AI movement mechanics, for how an AI should respond and move and path.
Yeah.
Which was vastly important.
I can't wait to try Command & Conquer Tiberium, that first-person shooter. It's coming out soon.
Wait,
was that canceled?
Wait, they already made a Tiberium. Like, Renegade was the first-person shooter that came out in, like, 03.
Who owns
No, there was one called Tiberium Sun, then?
No, Tiberium Sun was technically Command & Conquer 2. And that's like the super sci-fi one.
What's it called? There's a Command & Conquer first-person shooter that I don't think they ever officially canceled.
Well, there was Renegade that did come out.
No, it was supposed to come out for the 360.
Maybe that was Tiberium Wars?
That's it.
Yeah, because there was Tiberium Twilight.
Wait, no, Tiberium Wars was 4, wasn't it?
No, that was Tiberium Twilight.
Oh, God. I hate these names.
Jesus Christ.
Command & Conquer
you know what the sequel to StarCraft is called?
Tiberium
StarCraft 2.
Red Alert is a great name.
That's true, it is. Red Alert is a great name.
The StarCraft 2's names got complicated, which we'll get into with their expansion stuff. But sorry, no, keep going. We're getting distracted here.
We got to hit the Google machine to find out about which Command & Conquer came out when.
There's a lot.
But yeah, no, so the game StarCraft heavily relies on what's known as macro and micro.
Yeah, which you'll have to elaborate on, because I believe this game may have been the first time I heard those terms personally.
Yeah.
Of course, not knowing what they meant until years later, but
So with macro, it's maintaining your overall base operations, like building workers to mine resources, producing military units, constructing new buildings, expanding into, your expansion or your expo or your new settlements.
Yeah.
It's the overall management of production. Whereas micro is...
Sorry, I got Austin fucked me because they just have some ground-ass base name that... It is literally
just called Tiberium.
It's just called Tiberium.
It doesn't even have Command & Conquer.
Yeah, I just looked it up too.
Yeah.
All right, sorry.
Micro is...
I do this a lot. I apologize.
No, you're fine.
I go off on tangents.
Hey, you can do what you want. It's your podcast.
Yeah.
Micro is the level of granular and specific control over the game, so having units do certain things like move, explore, attack, dodge, use specific abilities.
This is where your rock, paper, scissors and cooldown
shoot
shit
at somebody
becomes
with a
real
Viking
important.
and then walk just far enough away to where they can't shoot you and then turn back around and shoot them again.
Yeah, no, 100%.
That's good.
Yeah, muta control with Zerg, and with Protoss, you just hit attack move and you win.
Yeah.
Pretty sweet. So why is this game so easy to pick up but almost impossible to master, right? So the easy part of it, there are only 3 races to choose from. I wouldn't necessarily call it rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah, I was kind of generalizing a little bit.
There was less that you need to memorize, right?
Yeah. As opposed to maybe something like an Age of Empires?
Yeah. Age of Empires, like...
There's like 4 different resources?
Everybody... you have wood, food, gold, and stone. Stone is the most limited, followed by gold, then wood and food.
Some are finite,
food.
They're all finite.
You can use a market to interswap resources.
Up your tech level and stuff.
Yeah. But here, it's just 3 races. None of them have the same units or overlap, which Age of Empires does.
Yeah.
They have the same function, but they have different names, right?
Yeah.
There's only 2 resources to mine. That is minerals and Vespene gas, or gas.
Yeah, Vespene gas is the coolest name for a mineral a resource in any RTS ever.
Yeah. And Tiberium is a cool name.
Is it though?
Yeah.
We just got done talking
it's
about
radioactive
how
crystals.
Video game.
And if you walk on it, you die. That's cool.
Yeah, that's way cool.
Command & Conquer sounds like it tried to be a shitty sci-fi TV show from the 90s that could compete with the next generation.
To be fair, it was a shitty sci-fi TV show at the 90s with a video game in the middle.
Yeah.
Go walk on some Vespene gas and get back to me. I bet you that'll burn you alive.
Probably. And
I bet you can get crushed by a big crystal easy.
Yeah. Mining minerals. Can you imagine the life of an SCV as like the Terran? Man, that must suck.
Yeah.
That's why the Protoss were the coolest, because they had those little drones that float around.
Are you kidding me? They always sound so energetic. Like, I'm on it.
Yeah. They're thrilled to be a part of the meat grinder, man.
Wait, don't they just go, what do you want?
Yeah.
They're always pissed off.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, there's only 2 resources, right? The names of the units themselves are really a mastercraft of how to make things easy to understand, right? Like, you make units from a barracks. The starport makes flying units. The evolution chamber does upgrades.
Very self-explanatory.
The forge does upgrades. The academy does upgrades. The engineering bay does upgrades. Like, it's very intuitive when you look at it.
So like, this upgrades vehicles.
Yeah.
This upgrades ground soldiers. Yeah.
The starport has a helipad at the top, so you would think that this would be a place where you would produce air units, right? Mm-hmm. So it's easy to pick up. Why is it impossible to master?
I mean, I will say that was a good call on their part, because it likely did make the game easier to translate or localize to other regions.
Which is also why the campaign begins with Terran.
Yeah, it does. You're right.
It gets you familiar with the Terran units, which are the easiest to learn. Yeah. And then it transitions you. I think Zerg is second and
Zerg is
Toss
second.
Third.
Yeah.
And Zerg is probably the weirdest one to learn what each one does. But Toss is very...
And I guess I should say, before you get into the harder stuff, that we're breaking down the mechanics of the game, not so much the lore itself, because otherwise...
Be here for hours.
Yeah.
Okay, Kerrigan was a sniper.
Yeah, she was a ghost.
And then she became the Queen of Blades. And that is Austin's StarCraft lore corner, because
then she
that
became
is all
like
I
a
know.
good Zerg, and then
Jim
a god.
Raynor likes cigars.
He does.
Okay, there we go. That's all I know.
Jim Raynor, my man.
Yeah.
Way better in the Vulture than as a Marine, I'll tell you that much.
It's funny, I know absolutely nothing about the Protoss lore whatsoever, but they're my favorite faction.
You don't need to know, trust me. There's something about like deep space exploration.
That's so fucking cool.
Well, I think it ends with
like 6 different factions or something.
Yeah, what is it?
The shadows.
The Giant Bomb talks about the ending of the last thing where Raynor fucks God Kerrigan, and then they make new life in the universe or something. I don't know.
Wait, this is the spacey clicky keyboard game?
Let me tell you this much. Blizzard was way different in 2000 than it is now. Okay? They had some quality people back then.
Yeah.
But
yeah, nowadays they're just like, hey, look at this lesbian's butt, and there's robots, right? Fight them.
Guys, what do we do for the next WoW expansion? Why don't we just re-release the original one? So we don't have to make anything up? No.
Don't you dare mock them, person who ate every bit of that up.
Yeah, dude, I played. I got a 60. Don't you worry. I got a 60. I'm just saying, like, it was like a clearly obvious tactic.
It's just like they have a dartboard that says, "What will Sylvanas do this time?" And then they just throw a bunch of darts at it, and they're like, "All right, there's a new expansion."
Sylvanas will release a Diablo 3 mobile app.
Who put that in there? Sorry, I ran out of ideas. I thought we were doing Pictionary.
What, you don't have a phone? But yeah, so back to it. Why is it hard to master, right? Most of it is what I would call unintended consequence of the game coming out at late 90s.
Yeah. And there's limitations.
It had limitations, yeah. So you could only select 12 units at a time. right? But there was a max population of 200. So you had to have multiple units in different groups.
You can't do your Halo Wars all units button.
Oh my god, yeah. It was eventually solved with some changes to the meta, right? Coming from the highest levels of play. Like in a lot of these earlier games.
Something games aggressively still try to do now. Yeah.
They do. A lot of games rely too much on patching.
Yes.
Or if you look at a game like League of Legends, their entire company motif is to change the game every 3 months, which one would argue never allows you to see the best level of gameplay.
That's true. I mean, it worked in their favor in a business sense.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, the point of that is not, ironically enough, not to get the best game, but to get the most interesting meta.
Yeah.
Because interesting metas keep people playing.
Yep. I would equate StarCraft more to something like chess, where the meta changes in chess as well.
chess don't get patched, though.
But
Yeah,
you can't patch chess. No
StarCraft
3D or
ain't-
4D chess out there. But
StarCraft isn't boring as shit.
yeah, no.
Come at me, chess
I like
players.
chess.
And also, they don't play StarCraft and Harry Potter. Another movie reference. Beating you.
Did they play StarCraft?
Do you imagine that scene in Harry Potter where they play a giant StarCraft map instead?
Yeah, Harry uses a spell, and now he's got god level macro. You know.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, no. So everything under the highest levels was purely, who had the better micro and macro. If you were trying to climb the ladder in StarCraft, there's a big misconception that your fingers need to be like, you need to be a mechanical god. I think there's a funny video that I mentioned.
That was the thing that got me when I was young and playing StarCraft.
It seems so intimidating, right?
When I was like, how do I get better at this game? And someone's like, what's your APM? And I was like, what does APM stand for? And they're like, actions per minute. And I was just like, I don't know, like 5, and somebody just laughed at me, and I was like, I'm done.
Yeah, they're like, forget this game. What they've come to realize...
It looks like they're hacking into the fucking
they're
Gibson.
hitting the Gibson. Yeah, super hard.
Zero, cool. Another hacker's reference for everybody.
we gotta keep it
who's a
rolling.
frequent listener.
Over time, the general ideas generally change. They still use APM, but I think they have a different one. It's like a lowercase e APM or AAPM. And what they found out is it doesn't matter how fast you hit your keyboard, it's what you're actually doing when you hit it.
Yeah.
You're
Kind
right.
of seems like a concept that you'd be like, duh. But
No, if I just slam my fist on the keyboard as fast as
It
possible.
was
So
an
you're telling-
intimidation
it doesn't matter
strategy.
how many buttons you hit, but which buttons you hit is
Yep.
essentially what you're saying.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, who would have thought?
But you're right, is that this was the general consensus, because its actions, I should say, are your commands, like, your micros and your macros. The full potential of it, anyway.
I was watching a ton of interviews about Brood War and stuff like that. There's a great documentary about Artosis and Tasteless from back when they were players. I think they might be one of the few English commentators currently living in Korea that do StarCraft commentary. There are a few others, but they are probably the most notable. And they have a great story about a guy who went to a tournament who purposely at the start of the match, I know, at the start of the match, he would use both of his hands to smash APM, so that way when the commentators and other people were looking at it, his APM would be like above 1,000, and people would be like, "What is this kid doing?" And then he just like came out and just like, "Yeah, I just did it to like look cool."
So what would you say the average like APM is for like your variety of players?
So new players who are not strictly console junkies that are have played.
Jeez, slight of it.
Look here, you button masher. Okay. People will typically have about 50 APM.
That being us, probably.
Pros have around 300.
I'm looking at you. Not.
Cut that by a fifth, sir. Some of us don't.
Some of us don't about 110 right now.
Some of us don't like using our keyboard in StarCraft. We like using the mouse. So we can't do a whole lot, but we still enjoy the game, and that's what matters. Okay.
The biggest piece to get over in StarCraft to get better is you can't watch your units fight.
Yeah,
I know. You're right, but it looks so cool.
It does suck.
I always
It sucks.
want to see the destruction.
It's
I
so
always wanna
gory,
see
and the
it.
particles of the explosions look cool. Like
Yeah, like you gotta like if you're playing Zerg, you gotta like spawn units and then click to another part of the map. And I want to watch that pustule explode.
Yeah, I want to watch the
Now, if you want
Zerglings
to be
run
good,
over.
you don't.
yeah. When they overrun people, it's so
If
cool.
you want to be good, you see that as like, my units will win. All I have to do is attack move. Time to go, refresh my base real quick. Come back in,
damn it.
see, reevaluate.
This happens every time we do this fucking podcast. Now I'm going to have to go buy StarCraft Remastered.
It's so good.
Oh, I know.
It's
I
like
kind of
$15.
want it
StarCraft 2 is free. Fuck it. Just play
I had
2.
StarCraft 2, but I never played the campaign for any of them.
You should.
And I'm not good
Yeah,
enough to
you
play
should.
online.
The campaign for StarCraft
it's
2
great,
is
yeah.
immaculate. Are you
It's-
kidding me?
it's
It's fucking
probably-
amazing.
it's
I'm not
probably
gonna
like one of the best.
I'm not going to
like,
understand
RTS
it if I don't
campaigns.
play one.
You got to play one.
Are you kidding me?
Looky here, Chainsaw.
Watch
Listen,
You're not going to understand it if you do.
Listen, sir.
Yeah, I beat them and I don't understand them.
I went and played 5 hours of SimCity 2013 after that podcast. Don't tell me that's stupid to play StarCraft 1.
Look, as a person who's beaten both of them, I don't know what anybody's name is. What's the main guy's name? Beard guy? No, not cigar guy. He's the other guy.
His name is Jim Raynor. How could you forget? Yeah, of course. You have Zeratul. That's all I got.
No, you can
If
name
you
more than
pass
that.
it me one more time on my own podcast.
Who's the StarCraft Ghost famously canceled?
Yeah. StarCraft Rose famously canceled. Rest in peace. The game was done.
No, but what's her name? Why can I
Kerrigan.
find it? No, Kerrigan wasn't the...
Oh, from the actual game?
Yeah.
Oh, I have no idea. Nova?
Nova.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yes, I did know.
Why isn't Nova Kerrigan's code name? Aren't they the same person?
I don't... wait, come on, Chris.
I don't... no, they're not.
I
They're
didn't
not.
think so.
No.
Nova's a sniper.
The only reason I say that is because Nova and Kerrigan are two different characters in Heroes of the Storm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And because of that,
They're
I'm
two
drawing
different
conclusions.
skins of Widowmaker and Overwatch.
Yeah, that's true. You're right. That's how I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so sorry, you were
But,
saying
yeah.
pros have around 300?
Yep, Korean pros probably
what
won't get
they're-
out of bed unless they have a minimum of 300, but they're typically more like 350.
All right, wait. Let me do the math. So 300 divided by 60 is 5 a second, correct?
Yes,
Or 50 a second?
5.
5 a second.
So
Yes.
20 milliseconds a hit. Would that be it?
Or
Or 200
can
milliseconds?
register
200
that shit.
milliseconds.
Yeah.
You're getting into like frame.
Oh yeah,
Counting territory.
Let's see if there's a tick system in the game. We'll
Yep.
track it. But yeah, no, there's some famous videos out there. You know, if like I was saying, if you search Korean Brood War APM and watch the video Korean Gamers,
Oh, I've seen them.
APM demonstrations, you can see it on full display.
My
But it's not
favorite-
necessary.
My favorite is back when they used to make those videos when there were cameras were so shitty they couldn't keep up and it just blurs.
Yeah.
They're moving
Yeah.
too fast.
What people
It's
also
good
don't
shit.
know is at the highest levels, when you talk about like the best players out there, they constantly make mistakes. Mm-hmm. They constantly make mistakes,
Yeah.
which is like everyone's like, "There's no way," and you're like, "Dude, like what they do is they specialize into something, right?" Which which is like kind of weird. But like, there's a player who's really known for understanding how to utilize the mini map. Like he's real good at like
Wow.
they did like eye
not the-
tracking and like they saw him just like constantly flicking his eyes at the mini map. So when he sent his units out and when he was doing explorations, he'd had better map knowledge and that's what like he used to propel himself to like pro gaming.
Who says games are
I have a
physical?
question. Do you think a pro player of StarCraft, do you think if it had the UI of just the bottom thing with the minimap and
They
all the
could
buttons,
command a real sci-fi
and
war?
the real thing was black, that they could still play?
Ooh,
Ooh,
that's some Tetris blindfolded
I
shit.
Don't
No,
think
because you
so.
can't see the units that are attacking
No.
you on the minimap.
Like, okay, so a great. Why I don't think that? Do you know what the best?
What a good
hack-
idea for a money match.
Do you know what the best hack in StarCraft is?
no.
A map hack, a wall hack. No
Oh.
fog of war.
Oh, no Fog of
Legion
War.
is
Yeah,
probably
yeah.
one of the most important.
Yeah,
pieces.
Fog of War is probably one of the most universal things of all
Yeah.
RTSs. It doesn't matter if it's Age of Empires or Company Heroes or
'Cause, like,
anything. It's all...
Right now, StarCraft's Brood War, it's still a vibrant community, man. Whenever
Oh, yeah.
ASL comes on, I'm always watching.
but this is why you gotta send a unit to spy.
Of course.
yeah.
Information gathering in StarCraft 1 is so important because it takes so much to invest down a tech tree that and it's so optimized that knowing what's coming, they can't stop making it. They
Yeah.
can't pivot.
Yeah.
Because if they pivot, then they're behind in their attack and then
that's
you steamroll
everything.
them. Yeah.
Yeah.
But besides that, okay, that's getting like too in depth. But yeah, so the game was perfect out of the box, baby. But there were a ton of fucking glitches that they haven't patched out because there was never a update patch to the gameplay. There's only been graphical updates.
Yeah.
Like
I mean, that's all intact in the remaster. It's
yeah.
It's just them
all
up-resing.
of the glitches are still in it. Like it's perfect. There are some that are banned, but most of them are not. Which like There's a few that are pretty game breaking.
I was gonna say, what do you got? Like,
so these glitches really they came to define a good portion of the game, and because of this, they were obviously left in. It does make it difficult for newcomers if you're coming to pretty weird things. So you have stuff like Mutalisk stacking. Some guy found out that you can only have 12 units in a group, right? But how the Mutalisks move, if one of those units is an Overlord, which is ultra slow,
slow,
and you right click, all of the mutas, instead of moving in a pack like a flying V, they will go to that point instantly. So they stack on top of each other. So what you do is your attack group is 11 mutas and then one Overlord. You fly over their base, and Mutalisks have glaive attacks, so it spreads, right?
Yeah.
And then you just attack one drone, and it'll kill 3 of them, and then you fly away. Right? They did the same thing for lurkers because of just how the pixels worked on the screen, which was very prevalent in one of my favorite tower defense games, where you would stack lurkers on top of each other, and then you would have 6 lurkers, and then they use that knowledge. And then they combine it with the fact with high ground advantage, with you only hit 50% of the shots if you're shooting to the high ground. And now if you're Zerg, the primary strategy, if you're taking another base, all you have to do is put 2 lurkers on the ramp. They will never break it.
Huh.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's pretty good.
Like I said, there are some illegal ones. I know there's one that has to do with an anti-air or turret with Terran. Drone drilling is insane. If you explore the map and you take a whole bunch of your drones or SCVs or probes and you go to the Fog of War and you right-click on that mineral patch, they will take the most direct line.
Yeah,
and
they'll explore the map or
they'll go straight to the mineral patch as long as it's been explored in the Fog of War. But what you do is, while they're moving, if you press the stop key, they all spread out. But they get through these pixel-perfect areas. And say you're against a giant group of enemies, if you send your drones through and you hit stop, they spread out and all of their units move around.
Is that legal?
Yeah. It's called drone drilling.
Okay.
It's sweet.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I've seen that before, yeah.
Hold position lurkers, another great one. They found out if you hit hold position, the lurkers won't attack immediately. So what they used to do is create basically these bombs that you would put in the middle of the map. And if people didn't see them with detection, you'd wait for all their units to run over them. You take them off hold position, and it would just slaughter an entire army. Yeah. It's some great stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is like the wave dashing or the L canceling of StarCraft.
Yeah. Nothing beats hitting someone with a monster tipper.
The things I understand.
Monster tippers, baby. But yeah, so StarCraft, overall, very easy game to pick up. Very, very, very difficult game to master.
Yeah. Of course, then before the end of the year, something else would happen to shake things up all over again. November 30th, 1998, Brood War is released. In the same year, which is kind of wild, but probably one of the most celebrated expansion packs of all time. I'm sure everybody here remembers the Battle Chest double box.
I had to buy 3 Battle Chests because I kept getting my CD keys banned.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, what were you, cheating?
The first time, yes. I was 15. Okay. Man. And then they came out with Brood War Mini, which is pretty sweet, but that's a whole another thing. A way to play the game without CD keys.
Did you get Did you guys hop in on base and then get Brood War, or did you get them both together?
I got them both together.
You got them together?
I think I got StarCraft before Brood War came out.
Okay.
And then I bought Brood War, but I did buy the Diablo 2 Battle Chest.
Hey.
And
also the Warcraft 3 Battle Chest.
Chris, did you get the Battle Chest or?
The Battle Chest had StarCraft and then Brood War, and then did it have Diablo 2 Lords of Destruction?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, that's what I got.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. In fact, a few years ago, I found one of those.
Really?
Target had it.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's cool. I was just wait, it's still there after all these years.
Can't you get StarCraft? I have StarCraft. I just don't have remastered.
Yeah. You can play the original.
It'll still work.
Because if you had the CD key, you could enter it into Battle.net and redeem it.
Yeah.
And I still have my StarCraft 2 and Brood War CD keys at home.
But if it's a multiple use key, you'll get sent to the void. You can't talk to people in the chat.
I don't want to.
Well, where's our chainsaw? How about you?
No, as far as the Battle Chest goes, I didn't have that one with StarCraft. I had the Diablo 2 one. I remember that.
Okay.
It was all red and black and sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they were
great
put out some
ideas.
great games. Blizzard is really good, or early Blizzard is really good at making sequels.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Lords of Destruction is the name
Diablo
of it, right?
2 is best
Yeah.
sequel ever.
I mean, these
No, and then
when
the
these
expansion
came
pack
out,
for it is even better.
When these came out, they were events, you know.
Yeah.
Like that's why I'm as a big Overwatch fan, I was very disappointed with how unceremonious this like next release looks. And I'm sure I will buy it and I'll play it and I will probably very much enjoy it. But it's also like it doesn't feel as important as like
No,
you
it feels
know,
like
and-
Overwatch 2-ish.
Yeah, yeah.
Should be
I mean,
the game
that's
style.
bold
new. That's
having
new,
it
though.
to-
To be fair, you know, say what you will about how well they did, or their staying power, or
Diablo
bad
4
launches.
feels
Diablo
yeah.
3 and Starcraft 2 were significant.
Yes.
yeah. Oh, absolutely.
They were
Yeah.
huge.
And the announcement of Diablo 4 is something that
That Diablo 4 trailer
was a
was
big
dope
deal.
as shit.
Yeah.
is pretty cool.
But yeah, no. So
Can't wait.
back to the timeline. Tournaments start running around this time as well, with like a lot of the early players.
Well, around Brood War? you mean?
After Brood War.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay,
tournaments
after
start
Brood War.
popping up like 99, 2000.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
so like we're around the turn of the millennium.
Yeah.
here, yeah.
Okay.
And in the West, in the early
Which is going to bring us to
2000s.
some big points in our
Yeah.
in our story now.
But the West was really dominated by a lot of homegrown operations. So you have like Cal, CPL, MLG for first-person shooters.
MLG was definitely the first I knew about, and with Counter-Strike especially. So, and
Yeah.
for more on a whack-ass scandal regarding that game, please check out our
Yikes.
10th episode that you are also on, Chris, on those later incidents.
Yeah.
Granted, that's StarCraft Go, but
Yeah.
Counter-Strike.
Counter-Strike Go. What? StarCraft Go. It sounds like a
StarCraft
shitty mobile
Go.
game. Sorry, yes, that is Counter-Strike
Don't give 'em any
Global
ideas.
Offensive.
Yeah. But
Don't give them ideas.
yeah, you have a lot of these first-person shooters in the West, which is kind of like our thing.
Yeah, is that like RTSs became so popular in Korea? I mean, is that? Do you think that's the computer specs or internet speeds or just the culture? Like,
So I think my personal opinion is that first-person shooters became more and more popular because they were developed for an American audience. Like a good way to describe it is like you look at like Doom, right, which is a real iconic video game, which was massively popular, but it didn't necessarily translate well to Korean culture or
yeah, I suppose not. I mean, if it's
it's
when you
like
look
Hell
at
Demons, right?
I heard, and I don't know how true this is, I did also hear once that there is at least in those early days, cultural difference where RTS is being 1v1
Yes.
and first-person shooters being
more
team-based.
team-based.
Yeah.
Okay.
Had some
Interesting.
play in that.
Yeah.
No, that's a good point.
But I think with the success of stuff like Quake, there was almost like a backing for it, you know? Like nobody wanted to take the venture into StarCraft. They did, right?
Yeah.
A lot of like MLG events would have a StarCraft portion of it, but like the reason people were at the MLG was for like Counter-Strike Melee.
I mean, like 2v2s and 3v3s were never really popular in the high league of StarCraft, which is funny because now you do have things like PUBG that are back to being one player versus
Yeah.
other.
I mean, fighting
players.
games, right?
Fighting games, yeah. I mean,
1v1.
it wasn't
Yeah,
until
that's kind of what makes it unique. It's 1v1, but it's not just like
You're right,
it's
yeah.
a different kind of 1v1. You know?
yeah.
it kind of wasn't until RTSs evolved into MOBAs that you saw the rise of team
Yes.
like based games again.
Yeah.
and that.
so we have our quote
That
unquote
scene.
celebrities at the time, which is probably Jonathan Fatality Wendell is probably the biggest name at the time because he's the best American.
Plus, Korean people, Korean esports stars are all about practice, and we're all about taking meth.
Yes.
And so,
Yeah.
first-person shooters are much better when you just take meth.
There's a famous interview with the Cloud9 CS:GO team.
Yeah.
Yeah, where the guy's like, so well, we were listening to your comms and we heard they were so aggressive. Everyone thought it was really weird. He's like, I'm not gonna lie, we were all high in Adderall.
Yep.
Like straight up.
That broke a whole thing.
Yeah, they put that changed drug testing.
If we're gonna have you back on for a third episode, that'll probably be the
Oh,
topic, honestly, because we did talk about that
How
at
to
one
beat
point.
drug testing in the esports industry.
Yep.
Yeah, it's so prevalent.
Take your notes now.
But the East has their own celebrity. His name's Lim Hyo Wan, the GOAT, Slayer's fucking boxer. That dude. I respect the old heads a lot. Like a lot of people who's probably listening to this, if they're super deep into the StarCraft like community,
Sure.
You would probably say that Flash is a better player overall, and respectively, I would probably agree just from his merits. But you got to respect Slayer's boxer. This dude was gnarly, dude. I can't wait to tell you about it. And like Korean military service and what happened. Yeah, it's crazy.
my God.
It's absolutely nuts. Yeah. But yeah, so he's over there making a name for himself, and what they really did was they emphasized on the personalities because it was 1v1, so that you build names and stories around him. You know, it was called the God Emperor of Terran, you know? Like, you couldn't do that if it was a team. You know, the God Emperors doesn't sound good, but, like, the God Emperor. And over here you have, like...
Which is also a Warhammer reference, by the way. The God Emperor. That's the king of the Space Marines.
Oh, shit.
You've been doing your research, I say.
Well, Chris is super into
My
Warcraft.
research, you mean
or Warhammer.
20 years of Warhammer playing?
Yeah. But yeah, we have big tournaments over here. There was a $1 million Painkiller tournament, if anybody remembers that game.
I remember Painkiller.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm also curious how much he won.
$1 million.
But yeah, now let's head just a tiny bit further into the mid-2000s, where StarCraft is just popping off in Korea. But Chris, like, what exactly do you think led to this extreme popularity over there? Like, do you think it was something Blizzard ever even, like, really planned for? Or
man. So let's take that in two parts. How did it become so popular? 3 reasons, in my opinion.
Okay.
The biggest piece was the government financial incentives for broadband growth. In the late 90s were finally paying off.
Right.
And they paid off dividends, baby. Because they had such good... it was they were way ahead of the time. They had great infrastructure. You saw the rise of PC bongs, spelled with B-A-A.
Hell yeah, dude,
like a
weed.
bong. Yeah. Or PC cafes, right?
I'm gonna hit my tower real quick.
The Illadelph, man. And whether this was because these PC bongs, they were, you know, basically dirt cheap to run, or because computers weren't necessarily the cheapest things at the time, I don't know. It's probably a mixture of both. I mean, home PCs at the time were like $2,000.
Yeah.
But
I mean, now they're kind of $2,000.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I always...
now they're $2,500.
Yeah. I always just found it...
computers? Dude, I could build you one of those for like $50.
I don't know. I always found it kind of interesting how cyber cafes never really super caught on here.
No.
Like,
It's a shame.
not to the degree there anyway, because I thought it's a cool idea. And I'm sure we all remember when a couple places tried, though didn't seem to
Land
last.
centers.
But,
Yeah. There was like...
There are popular ones in major cities. Like, there's a big one in New York where the actually the Overwatch New York team practices there, and like they hold like viewings for all the tournaments and shit there. It's a pretty popular place there.
Yeah.
That's
but it's
good.
also like microcosms. It's not like there's not like a cyber cafe in every city.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
and you're
it
not
seems
gonna
to be more of a
you're-
small thing.
You're certainly not going to see it in suburbia either, like when they
Yeah.
tried.
But
yeah.
these...
It's cool, though.
These PC bongs, they really created a culture for the youth to hang out at, right? They were all playing games which drove competitiveness in these 1v1 games, and eventually led to high-level players coming out of these PC bongs.
There's something kind of really, like...
Calling it a bong?
No, sweet. No, not the bong thing. I just want to like, this reminds me, like, I just envisioned what arcades used to be in the 80s.
I mean,
like
it's
these
very
hangout
similar
spots,
to
like-
locals, fighting game locals now.
Yeah, that's true.
You know,
Yeah.
those are held at fucking bars and fucking
Colleges,
libraries, colleges, you know.
So,
People come out of those all the
hosted
time.
one at a music venue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's true.
we did.
But so if you think
Rest
about
in
it,
peace.
right? If you all have a common space, think like a house where everyone is gaming. You get people who drive each other to
Whoa,
really
a
high
house
levels.
where everybody's gaming?
It's almost like a gaming house.
Whoa.
Oh my god! I'm in PC bong.
Are we esports players? Because that's what we do here.
Sign us up, baby. Get us a NordVPN sponsorship.
Do you think
if you come over here on any weekday, it's just Matt in his room, you in your room, and me in my room, all playing games.
Do you think my house could ever reach the status if it wasn't for all the alcohol and music all the time?
Probably makes it even.
You're too cool.
Even more likely to be true. Yeah. But yeah. So you have these PC bongs where these kids are playing, and since the country is so small, it makes playing games easier without issues of latency, which not a lot of people think about.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Like, it seems like people are getting into semantics, but if you talk to a lot of pros or listen to them talk, and they always complain, they're like, oh, 70 ping. And you're like, dude, what's the deal? Like, there is like a very fine minutia, but since they had such great infrastructure and everyone was connected, and the country's so small, think about it like you use the fighting game scene. Nowadays, it's kind of solved, but not really. With like netplay and like netcode and stuff like that, there's still games that have terrible netcode, as I'm sure you know.
Yeah, that's what they're dealing with right now for
Evo.
Evo.
Yeah, for Evo.
Sorry, God, I couldn't think of the name. But
Isn't that kind of ironic? Didn't they make The original
I just meant like
GGPO.
they had to change the roster of their games once they had to they switched to
Are you
online
telling me
this
all
year.
those King K. Rool online superstars were coming out of the woodwork? But anyway, so the infrastructure was huge. And imagine if you had the best players in New York City who were able to play extremely low latency against the best players in California. You would get a better environment. And it's also where you get like East versus West Coast and like Super Smash Bros. Melee, that kind of stuff, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But yeah, it really elevated the game to another level. And fun fact, when StarCraft first dropped, suddenly everyone was able to play very easily. What percentage of South Korea's population with broadband internet was playing StarCraft on a regular basis when it first launched?
You told me this and it
I'm gonna
broke
go
my
ahead and-
brain.
I think it's like 27%.
I'm going to go 60.
Yeah, Austin, you're closer. It was like
60 what?
It was between 50 and 51%.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Holy shit. Of the whole
Regular
population.
basis.
That's like, I wonder what the percentage of people in the United States that engage with football is still probably lower than that. And that's like the most American thing like ever. Like it reminds me of when Epic recently released just how many accounts there were made to play Fortnite across the world.
Yeah, it's like a third of the population of the United
it's like,
States or something.
what?
If they were all unique accounts.
Yeah, it's not, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, over 50%. Over 50% of people with broadband internet in Korea were playing StarCraft on a regular basis. And
That's insane.
It's absolutely nuts. And then finally, they were able to successfully incorporate broadcasting into tournaments.
Yeah, something we were never totally able to figure out here.
Prior to 2010, if you
Yeah.
wanted to throw a tournament, the most expensive cost to your entire operation was broadcasting.
Wow. Like, I know, like, we've had conversations in the past before about the potential of things like G4, like, prior to Twitch coming onto the scene and how much they fucked up. Like,
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I think it was called this. Was it the CGL or CGS?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they had like all the players like sit in like these chairs that were shaped like eggs, and it like spun them around. And they're
Men
like,
in Black.
they're gaming. But,
At least ESPN will, like, sometimes show, like, the finals at EVO, but...
yeah, it's starting to get a lot better. But prior to essentially, I don't want to say the original was it Justin TV or Own TV?
Justin TV.
Justin TV.
Oh, Justin TV, yeah, was
Yeah.
which became...
Yeah.
That became Twitch,
That
sorry.
became Twitch, yeah. Once that came out in 2010, everything kind of changed. But before that, the only way to broadcast it, they did have streaming services, but they were incredibly expensive and incredible low quality. So nobody wanted to do that. But what Korea had was TV, and US TV operates way, way, way differently. No one wanted to pick it up. Korea was like, yeah, let's just create a branch of the government to deal with this.
So they didn't even have to deal with, like, the pay-per-view shit, like,
Yeah.
you do here, right? Like, you know, like, every MMA fight in wrestling and stuff like that, when I used to work at the bar, was, like, you paid an exorbitant amount of money to, like, be able to publicly show that stuff. And
Yeah.
then, yeah.
You had to sell your first son if you wanted to sign a deal with the TV station, and those overhead costs were essentially paid for in Korea.
And that's how that could get out there. Yeah, so...
Yeah, and luckily, since half of the fucking Korean population was playing the goddamn game,
You could show it anywhere.
yeah, eventually OGN, or On GameNet, was created in 2000 specifically for broadcasting video game-related content and esports, and immediately took StarCraft on board.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's like you had a few early players, but think about like expanded cable channels here. It would be something like similar to that, I guess you would say.
So, like, how much was Blizzard themselves really helping
None.
at this time? None?
None.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Like, they're just completely hands-off? The scene was just building itself and
wasn't
ran
on
its
their
own?
radar.
Like,
It just was
yeah.
not on their radar.
Okay.
Which eventually comes up in a nasty lawsuit.
Of course.
Naturally.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, so you might say to yourself, like, well, why didn't anybody do this in the States, right? And there's a lot of history of old money in Korea. For all those people out there, do not worry. I did the Googling for you. I'm going to try and summarize this very quickly.
Okay.
So this crazy amount of popularity led to a massive influx of money into the scene. Not half-baked sponsorships from mouse and headset companies that are like hawking their new product or like shilling.
Hey, you leave Logitech out of this.
And of course, if anybody here wants to play Raid Shadow Legend, but like you had real large, kind of corrupt, but old money that you could only find in Korean corporations that were taking interest in this.
Hey.
For those who are unfamiliar with Korean corporate laws and regulations, anybody here an expert?
I very familiar, but explain it for Randy.
Of course,
please.
of course.
Well, it was my minor.
Yeah,
But
I am also, just with Alton, I also have a lot of knowledge, but
Yes.
it's not worth getting into, obviously, if you're about to get into
Me and
it.
Chris are very, very familiar with this, but explain it for Randy.
The simpleton, of course. So
well, Randy, this is how it's just like.
So, lest we not forget that South Korea is a relatively new country. It was only made a country in 1945, so I'm pretty sure that some of us have grandparents that have been around that were older than South Korea, or parents. I'm not trying to discriminate against the age of your audience.
Most of my grandparents are dead. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. So
I'll one up you. All of my grandparents are dead.
I only have one
likewise.
left, but I don't know.
She's dead. So after South Korea became a country, very few Koreans had owned or managed large corporations prior to becoming a country. This has to do with Japanese colonialism. If you want to look it up, there's an empress that was assassinated.
And they
etc.
had like a big zombie invasion in the southern region for a long time.
Yeah, it really took over. Wait, are you calling Japanese people zombies?
No, that's just a reference to the underrated show Kingdom,
Oh,
which is
I
incredible.
thought you were talking about Train to Busan. I'm sorry.
No. Everybody check out this. It's on Netflix. It's got like Game of Thrones production quality. It's about like feudal Korea, and there's like a zombie invasion. It's fucking insanely good.
Cool.
And way underrated.
Damn.
That's also where Wolverine came from, Japan.
Wait.
Like from the X-Men?
Yeah, I saw that. There's a movie about it. He's a samurai in it.
No, that's Tom Cruise in it.
That's another movie reference, dude. I'm killing you right now.
Nobody watched the second Wolverine movie,
I
man.
saw it in theaters.
I did. Also, he puts Iron Samurai.
Oh, my God.
Jesus. But yeah, so like,
Just watch Logan. You don't need any of that other
Logan's
shit.
great.
It's so good.
this early Korean management started back in the 1950s, and they were real hard style, very top down. It kind of goes hand in hand with the military regimes of the time, where they had a state-run economy, sort of an authoritarian, bureaucratic management system where the government specified to what's known as the Kaibal. I'm pronouncing that correctly, I believe.
Okay.
I thought it was Chable for the longest time.
I'm glad that you read this because that's how I would have pronounced it.
I should probably pull up Google and do like the sound effect thing to figure out how it's actually done. But
Cabal
well, that's
from Mortal Kombat.
yeah, duh. But yeah, if you think about it, like if you have a country that is newly founded, who is going to take over, right? It's never a democratic election. It's always a militant party that was active in whatever war, quote unquote, freed them.
I hate to break it to you, but no democratic elections are democratic elections.
And I'd hate to break it to you, the reason they became a new country is because somebody, us, the United States, was just there.
No, dude, we dropped
filling
freedom
all sorts
bombs.
of stuff in their heads.
We dropped freedom bombs. Yeah, you could go back and read about Korean history, how it was known as the Hermit Kingdom. They were annexed by Japan in like 1910. The war came around, blah, 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 Prussian War, et cetera, et cetera. But all you need to know is that this militaristic government came in and they told people essentially what to do, right? So they went and they're like, well, we need to get like production back up. So they said, you. And they're like, yeah. Like, you're going to build a factory, and you're going to smelt this many I-beams, and this is where you're going to put your factory, and this is the resources that you'll need. And I'm sure you're probably asking yourself, like, how the fuck do you get lucky enough to be selected by the government to run major companies? I'm so happy that you asked. Randy, for
Wait,
doing this.
yeah, I know, but explain it for Randy.
Sure.
Yeah.
So the Kaibal is it's a large industrial conglomerate that's run and controlled by an owner or family in South Korea.
Yeah.
In the United States, the joke is that
You knew there was going to be lineage involved in
corporations are people, right? According to the law. In Korea,
That is a funny joke, yeah.
they're actual people.
I laugh at just horror and nervousness.
Citizens United is hilarious.
Yeah.
Anyway,
No, I'm gonna pull this up just so I can.
I will say the only thing I do know is that the most famous Korean company to me personally is older than the country itself. Samsung.
Yes.
Yes.
Samsung was founded in Japanese Korea.
They will come
Yes.
up. They will come up soon.
Yeah. So the easiest way to remember it, you can't spell Kaibal without cabal, so I'm just gonna call him the cabal. It is a cabal, dude. Like the actual definition of it.
Yeah, I was for a second, I didn't correct you because I knew that you would know the word cabal, but I was like, what you're describing sounds like a cabal. You're just pronouncing the word wrong.
Yeah. Basically, these people.
I mean, when you wrote here, controlled by an owner whose power over the group often exceeds legal authority.
Yes.
Okay.
Sounds like a cabal to me.
Yeah. So these political elites in the 1950s, they had close links with the first president and his first republic. You know, they greased the right palms, said the right thing, talked to the right, bourgeoisie and those elites, and they received special treatment on a few things, here and there, and were basically granted the rights to start major companies.
Could you imagine if America worked like that? It'd be wild.
That'd be crazy. So then the peace-loving 60s comes around, right?
Nothing violent happened during that decade.
Nope.
Yeah, never. It's the president, Park Chung-hee. He seized power and he created the first 5-year economic plan that really sets the industrial policy towards new investment, where this cabal was basically guaranteed loans from the banking sector.
So what you're saying is he was playing his own game of StarCraft.
Yes. He was
just
clearly
managing resources.
He was clearly in the macro phase of building his economy.
Dude, he had some really good APM on that.
No, he really did. He really did. This played like a super key role in developing all the new industries in Korea today, and made them one of the 4 Asian tigers, the other being Hong Kong for finance, Singapore for finance, and Taiwan for electronics.
The 4 Asian tigers. It sounds like a Saints Row gang of occupying the map.
I hate to say it, but it sounds like a restaurant.
Well, that too.
Yeah. But I'm brushing over a ton of shit in here because, if we go much further in depth, there's...
We're not really an economics podcast.
No, and there's a lot of stuff about like how you own the company and whether it's your family who owns it, who owns the shares, or if you just had like a monopoly. And I won't even begin to describe the process of having other cabal members be your affiliates. A nice caste and rank system.
Yeah.
So now it's time for a game. How many of these cabal corporations can you name?
Yeah, so I saw Chris.
Samsung.
Boom.
So I saw Chris had this in here, and I'm curious if you, Austin and Chainsaw, could guess a few of these. I didn't do half bad when I tried, but yeah, Austin, you already grabbed the first one. Samsung, fine makers of exploding phones and exploding missiles.
How many subsidiaries do they have? How many affiliates?
Samsung?
Yeah.
A lot.
Just take a guess.
15.
A little higher.
18.
By a little, I mean closer to how many people are playing StarCraft.
51.
Plus 8.
60, 59.
59 subsidiaries, including life insurance, are part of their affiliate cabal family.
Who else do you think?
I'm mad at Korean companies, honestly.
All right, I'll give you a hint.
The people that made PUBG.
Yeah. One of them, the company name is Lucky Golden.
Yeah.
Okay.
What is their initials?
LG.
There you go.
Fine makers of my first kind of smartphone.
They are Korean.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is it just all electronics companies?
No, car maker.
Ooh.
Hyundai.
Yeah.
Hyundai.
Fine maker of Super Nintendo Chalmers car from The Simpsons. No, wait, that was a Honda. It was an Accord. Shit.
It's called
Honda. That's the Japanese company.
It's pronounced Hyundai.
Hyundai. I think in what happens that episode is someone steals the Honda
All right.
hood ornament, and then he tries to steal a Hyundai ornament to replace
I'm out of
it.
guesses. Give me hints, though,
Sure.
like that.
What is if you watch League of Legends, what was the name of the one team who ruled as a dynasty for like 5 years?
Oh, dude, I don't know. I don't watch League of Legends. Evil Genius.
Oh,
Cloud9.
Korean. SK Telecom.
Okay.
You have
SK
energy and chemicals, telecommunications, trading.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Kia Motors.
Okay.
Korean Air.
Fine makers of the soul. Korean Air. Oh, and who owns Korean Air? That's
Hanjin Group.
Okay.
Then you have the Korean Highway Corporation, the Korean National Housing Corporation, the Korean Land Corporation, the Korean Gas Corporation, the Korean Railroad.
Is Hanwha? Is that one of them? Hanwha?
Hanwha?
What about Hanjin? Is that one of them? I'm just looking at a list of them now,
yeah,
by the way.
I was actually getting very suspicious. Hanwha is the name of the bank. That's actually very good.
Did you say KT Corp?
Yeah.
They're kind of like the Comcast.
Yeah. But they don't operate outside of Korea.
No.
Honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of these names too, if you caught me when I was ranting them off, the Korea Land Corporation, the Korea Gas Corporation, you know what that eerily sounds like? Municipalities.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's because they are. Except they're owned by people. So
That sounds fun.
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting is that there are a lot of names here that people might find familiar if they know the actual esports teams that were competing because of those sponsorships.
Yeah, you got Samsung Blue, Samsung White, Samsung Galaxy, Samsung Con, KT Rolster, SKT1, Jin Air Greenwing, CJ Entis, Hanwha Life Sports. You have NBC, Munhwa Broadcasting Center, which is one of the channels that eventually popped up. Yeah, they had their own team too. Yeah,
Of course.
there's a ton of them. Mm-hmm. A notable difference in branding is how team or individual sponsorships seem to work here versus in Korea.
Right.
Here you have a brand name that you plaster sponsorships on a team jersey and on your website. In Korea, your team is built on the money from the company, so you are a representation of the company. Can you imagine if we had, I don't know, the Comcast terrible router team, the professional Overwatch team, or like
It's just if the team was called the Comcast Routers.
the Comcast routers.
I mean, the
great
Philadelphia
Overwatch team.
Fusion is owned by Comcast.
Yeah.
so-
Yeah.
I mean, everything in Philly is owned by
their brand
Comcast.
is
Yeah, I was
behind
gonna say
Comcast.
they don't do it out front. They don't do it up
Yes.
front, but it's still there.
They literally built an obelisk tower in the city that, like...
Yeah, dude. And then they put a William Penn statue, like the Eye of Mordor, at the top.
Yeah, it's
Comcast.
hard to pull that one
And
down.
now, if I want internet that is in Comcast, I have to look out my window and make sure the tower isn't looking at me before I switch to Verizon.
Yeah, no, it's like
I can almost see it from my house. If I walk 2 feet down the street, I can see the tower looking over me. Going,
It just hums and
"Stay
purrs.
with Comcast."
I would love to make a
Glows red in the middle
a
of the night.
Smash Ultimate team that's just called the New Jersey Turnpike Association Roadkill. That would be a great team, huh?
It's a little wordy.
Let's shorten
You
it.
workshop that a little.
So you have some crazy stuff that goes on, which unfolds entirely. Most of it revolves around the KESPA for the people out there. I understand, but I'm just going to call it KESPA, Korean Esports Association.
Yes, and they will come up a lot from here on out.
There's even stories of them even back in 2015. These guys are dedicated to esports in Korea, but they operate a little differently. The head of it is also closely tied to SK Telecom. The president of SK Telecom, like the family guy who owns it, he's also the head of KESPA. No surprise.
Love that show.
SK,
Yeah, great show.
SK Telecom. If you ever wondered why their reign was so strong in League of Legends, maybe it's because the governing body behind esports owned SK Telecom. So he would have the best players on his team that represented his company. Yeah, it's crazy.
There you go.
But KESPA actually got raided back in 2015. They got caught receiving bribes from Lot Home Shopping to be one of the major sponsors for their season.
Yeah, I think briefly they were the sole conflict of interests, right? Wasn't that what they were playing under for a little while?
That joke is so good on so many levels. But yeah, so when the police actually investigated, Lot is another cabal company. They investigated the vice president. Essentially, they went to go interview him, and following his claim about having a potential slush fund specifically for bribes, the dude shows up dead in his house. Presumably from suicide to avoid being arrested.
Jesus.
Presumably. But yeah, so the money in Korean esports, it really runs deep, very, very deep. So when you hear about these upcoming stories about how these guys were match fixing and the nuclear fallout that the organizations and the players themselves have gone through, it should kind of put things more into context.
For sure. I mean, it would be the same here. I referenced football earlier, but if the NFL, to us Americans, if match fixing was ever discovered,
Yeah, could
or
you
exposed,
imagine if an NFL team was gaming the system and using their connections to deflate balls or something?
Well,
and
I was
then,
going to say,
got caught?
we could talk all day about how fucking horrible and corrupt that entire organization is, but I just more mean
dude, they're good now. He apologized.
Oh yeah, and you can kneel again, right?
Yeah.
Shit, I wish. If I was a StarCraft player and somebody tried to bribe me, I'd be like, all right, open pockets up. Playing StarCraft, I'll take a bribe.
whatever you can fit in there.
Yeah. And but yeah, it really allowed them, when you have, I don't know, one of the broadcasting companies for television as the head of your government sanctioned esports association, it kind of makes sense why you would have, I don't know, StarCraft on TV.
Yeah, at one point I wanted to bring up to Austin. I don't know if you remember when Giant Bomb did the trip to Korea during the championship series, the start, and it's just seeing the money and the power and just all of the energy and time and resources into it's important there.
It's no different than fucking baseball or football.
Yeah.
It's got the same amount of pull.
But that's just over there. What's going on with StarCraft here in the old US of A? Freedom Land. Well, fly back over to the Western world where we're all about trying to make money on anything, even if we don't understand it. Thus, our response to Korean TV stations playing Brood War tournaments to a country where, like you said, 50% of its inhabitants play it regularly, and where you could travel from one side of the nation to another in 3 hours by high-speed rail. Enter the World Series of Video Games, or the WSVG for short.
A blemish on esports.
Where PC games like Counter-Strike, Quake 4, and Warcraft 3 were open for the world to compete. You even had Xbox games there, such as Project Gotham Racing 3, Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter, and Halo 2.
Yeah.
except it was by
T-squared.
American participants only. It was founded in 2002, but held its first season in June of 2006, starting in Louisville, Kentucky, where 4 subsequent circuit events would take place throughout the year, culminating with a final in December. The total prize pool was $990K.
Yeah, the press reports say $1 million, but they actually paid out
Fucking
$750K in the season and $240
What
in the
percentage
finals.
of the population of Louisville, Kentucky played StarCraft? You know that number?
Was it 50%?
Yeah,
Do you think?
Was it 59%?
I think we're looking at. Let me crunch the numbers here. Hold on. Done.
Okay.
Oh yeah, it actually was 59%, but put .00 in front of it.
Wow, how did you do that? It was more or less a continuation of the $1 million Cyber Athlete Professional League World Tour in 2005, with CBS even airing a 1-hour special on the Louisville opener. I suppose that isn't actually too far out from them when you consider their ventures
Could
with
you imagine
CNET.
that ad's probably like, well, we'll get back to baseball and other real sports. For a minute, our sons and daughters are having a little play thing over here. Let's go check it out.
Sponsored by Preparation H.
But they later did end up, with things like CNET and GameSpot. So, maybe this was sort of the beginning of that. The second season then featured such gems as Fight Night Round 3, Guitar Hero 2, Jordan, Quake 4 again, Warcraft 3 again, and WoW as the main circuit games. CS, Call of Duty 2, and Gears of War were also supposed to make an appearance, but I guess the deals were never fully fleshed out. They then planned the showcase at 7 locations worldwide, having $574K in prize funds this time, and even considered travel for some participants, which is pretty rad. But then, Chris, what happened?
Yeah. Canceled after the 4th stop. Citing revenue issues from previous events not
Look at
being
that.
enough to sustain the league and their enormous event sizes and expensive televising campaigns.
No.
What
Yeah,
bankrupted
they put so much
them?
money into trying to convince everybody that Fight Night Round 3 would be important.
We just didn't get it. Like, dude, we didn't get it, man. Like, America's like, what game should we put?
Do you remember how much hype was about that game? Like, I remember there just being so much.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm surprised we didn't
I remember when Project Gotham Racing was like the token racing sim series, and now it doesn't exist. Like
we didn't understand what made esports. People just assume whatever was popular makes a good esport game. Like, I'm surprised we didn't see like when did Def Jam Fight for the City come out?
we'll Fight for New York,
Fight for New York,
2005.
Oh, dude, we missed the chance to put that in
Well,
there.
I think what you're getting at, and what makes any sort of competitive enterprise important is getting people to watch it. That's the whole point. Competitiveness
Totally.
Yeah.
isn't necessarily for the people playing.
Yeah.
It's so people can be entertained by competitors.
And
you know? Like,
some games lend themselves way better to being watched than others, because other than
Absolutely.
like fighting games are uproariously fun to watch, even if you, like me, know jack fuck about Tekken
Yeah,
and Street
they are,
Fighter and
absolutely.
stuff like it.
Yeah, and I'm sure that deal with CBS for the hour-long special probably destroyed their coffers. But before the body was even cold, DirecTV, in association with the British Sky Broadcasting and Stars TV, they threw their hat in the ring to make
The Championship Gaming Series.
Clearly, they learned from the failings of the World Series of video games. I mean, you look at the name; they call it World Series. Like, they're trying to. They
please,
just
we
didn't
promise
understand.
it's like baseball. Please, please, fuck's sake, watch it.
But the downfall of that was attributed to complaints about the quality of the production, which DirecTV clearly thought that they could fix the issue.
Yeah.
And then NBC picked it up. Oh, we're calling this one. It's called the Super Gaming Bowl. Please watch it.
Yeah, this is also according to Michael Caine. No, not the "Good Night, You Sweet Princess of Sea Lab." I can't do his impression.
Yeah, you kings of the ocean.
Everybody, welcome to Stanley's Controller. It's like it's a hockey joke. I'm sorry.
You lost me.
That's good. Also.
Thank you.
But yeah, no, the entertainment's feature writer for the New York Post, Michael Caine, where his greatest
Hi,
self-described...
Michael Caine. That one?
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, they're very same.
His greatest self-described contribution to tabloid journalism was giving Arnold Schwarzenegger the title The Governor.
Oh, that was him?
The Governor, you mean?
The Governor, yeah. He was a sports writer. And
Previous
editor.
hot button.
Yeah, I was going to say, episode
Star.
2.
He was at the Denver Post, and his writing has appeared in ESPN Magazine and Sports Magazine. According to his bio, he still lives in New York City. I copied that directly from his website. So that portion was from his 2008 book, Game Boy's Professional Video Gaming, Rise from the Basement to the Big Time. Yeah. If everyone didn't universally just breathe out like That's just soul sucking.
At least Boys doesn't have a Z in it.
Well, I was gonna say I get what he's trying to do with the Game Boy reference, but it also just sounds like little boys.
I know,
It seems like it was intentionally diminishing.
It's
Rise
it
from the basement to the big time.
Every word that came out of your mouth hurt me more than the last.
Yeah. Well, clearly DirecTV thought that they could do better in this.
DirecTV, current owners of Blockbuster.
Oh, thank
No
God.
shit.
As a throwback to the beginning of this episode.
But yeah, so they
That's
had
funny.
the CGS. They had a pilot filmed in 06. It had a CS 1.6 match between Complexity, which is still around today as a gaming org, and then Team 3D, and then the classic nerd hit Dead or Alive.
The booby bouncing one?
That's the volleyball, I think.
No, they
all had boob physics.
Well,
Yeah,
the physics started in Dead or Alive, and then they spun it off into the volleyball one when they realized that people are
More interested in. I mean, yes, of
Pervy
course.
is the right
No,
word.
more interested in seeing beach-based sports. Come on, get your mind out of the gutter.
Yeah, we're
Yes.
all big just volleyball fans.
Of course, me too. It actually did pretty well, though, following a second event that did pretty well. It was actually greenlit for a 2007 season on DirecTV's exclusive channel, The 101.
God, I totally remember this now.
They had it set up with 6 franchises from 6 major cities throughout the United States and Canada. Sound familiar? Overwatch.
Yeah.
Plus a total of 10 more franchises from the global regions around the world. Each franchise had 10 players. They had 5 Counter-Strike Source players, 2 Dead or Alive players, 1 male and 1 female, and they had 1 FIFA 07 player and 2 Project Gotham 3 players.
2 Project Gotham players?
Yes.
Where are they now?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I didn't care about that game when it came out.
Can you believe it? Imagine putting that on your resume.
just
Professional Project Gotham 3 research.
Cut out the middleman and make them professional Geometry Wars players. Am I right? That's
Yeah.
the best thing that came out of Project
You're 100%
Gotham.
right.
So they held their first draft at the Playboy Mansion. The first round draft picks going to Vanessa Ortega, who was the specialist.
What were they
in
thinking?
fighting
What were
games.
they fucking thinking with that?
It's literally what. Yeah,
I'll tell you what they were thinking.
Yeah,
Oh,
you know exactly what they're
I
thinking.
Googled championship gaming series, and fucking the first picture that came up
Was it Playboy Mansion?
Wait, was it really?
No, it wasn't the Playboy. Well, it might have been. It was. I can't find it, but it was just a bunch of girls in low cut tops, and then like the host guy.
You talking about the guy game?
It looked like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, they had their first round draft pick. They actually, if you can imagine, this is like a very old boys club. Like not old boys club, but like shitty fucking mentality of having at the Playboy Mansion books being called like Rise from the Basement, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Just really just shoving any legitimacy that your thing had right into the dirt before it starts.
Yeah. And even going into it, they did like this fake draft or whatever. They picked one of the female Dead or Alive players, which like, can you imagine the controversy?
I don't want to.
Well, guess what? She went undefeated throughout the entire season.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, dude.
Fucking people, dude. She actually went on to appear in Sci-Fi Channel's reality television gaming WCG Ultimate Gamer. Yeah.
That's dope. I don't think she plays anymore,
No.
though, unfortunately. Because I looked into her after you said this. But, I mean, life in the competitive games field don't usually last too long with everything moving forward so, damn fast.
Kudos to her.
Yeah.
Like, really.
Absolutely.
What's her name?
Vanessa Ortega.
Okay.
It's a cool name, too.
Yeah. So season 2 followed in 2008, and they added 2 new teams: the Kuala Lumpur Talfon and the Dubai Mirage.
Not bad.
Where is Kuala Lumpur?
Australia.
The moon.
Obviously.
Of course, it's on the moon base.
Sorry, I heard koala. That might be racist.
But they finished out the season on July 28th.
Wait, where actually is it? I said the moon is a joke, but I also realized that could be interpreted as being racist, too. I don't know.
I was trying to ignore you because I actually don't know either.
Okay.
Kuala Lumpur is in Malaysia.
There we go.
Hey,
Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. We all knew that. So they finished out this season on July 28th, and later that year, on November 18th, they shuttered the entire operations immediately and out of nowhere, only to be confirmed a few hours later on their own official website. I couldn't find any credible sources explaining exactly what happened, but like popular theory was that DirecTV was purchased by Liberty Media, which is David Hill, an avid gamer and executive at DirecTV, right? And Fox News, who pitched formerly, I believe, who pitched the show idea. And then when he left the company, they wasted no time boarding up the fucking doors. Like, he was an avid gamer and he really enjoyed it.
Sure.
But at the same time, like, if he's the person who came up with the idea of having a draft at the Playboy Mansion, I'm not really sure if I vibe with him. Yeah. But regardless, he did create it. And then when he left, they were just like, all right, sayonara.
So what would you say are the key differences between the Korean and the Western approach with how these things were run? I mean, it's like, because at this point, jumping from the broadcasting stuff in Korean, just the Playboy Mansion shit here.
Can you imagine? It's just like a whole bunch of like Korean executives around the table talking about broadcasting rights, and then in America, it's like a college spring break party. Like,
and that's the reason it's bigger over there.
Yeah. Well, Korea had the infrastructure in place, right? Run by family-owned monopolies and broadcasted to an already existing audience.
Yeah.
People watch TV. America had the infrastructure in place, but no solid read on the audience, right? Which only existed on the fringes at the time.
Yeah, that miscommunication.
They threw out the net way too large.
I mentioned G4 earlier.
Yeah, and they landed flat.
Yep.
If you ever have a chance to go watch a CGS, it is a real treat.
I might after this.
Yeah.
You know what real sports don't have? Like gimmicks to get you to watch.
Yeah.
The reason you're supposed to go to them is because you like the sport.
Yeah.
I don't understand how these people don't realize that, like,
this is the industry that has booth babes.
I know,
Austin,
but you delegitimize your own thing. You're like, well, we know you're not coming to watch Project Gotham or DOA, so is that the Playboy Mansion?
That's the thing. The people in charge, the people who are making these decisions, are like, there's no way people could possibly want to watch video games.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, that's exactly why this got so popular in the first place.
Yeah.
People do want to watch video games.
And the reason why they fail is because you fucked up at giving them what they wanted. Like,
Yeah.
And then they're like,
you know how many fucking times in my life I've had the conversation, why Twitch? I don't get watching other people play video games.
Such a tired discussion to have with anybody.
Yeah,
like,
why Twitch? I don't know. Why did Twitch get bought for like $1 billion by Amazon? Maybe there's a market out there for this.
No, never. We need to watch Law and Order reruns on USA Network.
Well, it's like the thing where people
criminal intensive.
I don't know how many older people.
Look at old Dick Wolf.
I don't know how many older folks have said this to you guys, or a parent or whoever.
Get a job.
Like, no. No. I mean, like, why are you watching someone play a game? You could play it, and it's just like
it's not even just older people. I've been approached by people younger too. I think it's just people generally don't think. They think video games is this interactive personal experience. They don't understand that there's value in watching it as entertainment as well. There just seems to be some disconnect there because it's such a physical experience.
There's a weird disconnect in a lot of people's heads, because when you think about the people who try to shit on esports, the people who try to say, like, they're not real sports, it's like, yeah, because you know what? I love hockey, but I can't ice skate. Nor do I want to buy fucking ice skates and a stick and pads for like $400 and then rent out an ice skating rink.
He knows how much because he's definitely thought about doing it.
I have. When you think about like the inaccessibility that things like football and baseball and soccer have to the average person, you need 10 friends to play fucking soccer. Like, way more actually. But like video games, it's this thing where it's like people watch it because they want to see their root for their favorite player or team, but they also watch it because they play that in their spare time and they like to see somebody who's good at it do what they do, you know?
Yeah,
and that's not really something that regular sports has. You don't turn off the Super Bowl and then go, all right, let's go play a pickup game in the front yard, you know?
Yeah.
But you might turn off the League of Legends champions and watch it with your friends and then be like, all right, let's go play League. I
got to hop in queue right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. And
it's a hard thing to speedrunning is another hard one to explain to some.
Good.
You got to like the best way I could describe it in 2 sentences of why I love speedrunning is because it clicks with the way that I think about games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What I think of when you when
dissecting them, or
like
kind of
like you look at
apart,
like N64 games and you like, how could I just like cheese this game? How could I beat the system? And then you're like, oh shit.
I mean, a lot of that was the product
concave angle
like,
corner. I'm going to clip out of bounds.
Of us being kids when you didn't have access to everything, and you know, it's like you just played what you owned.
When I play video games, I try to play them as closely as I possibly can to the way that they are designed to be played.
Me too.
But I'm very interested in how they are made, and speedrunning also lowers the
Yes.
like, what's the
veil,
the curtain behind a lot of,
shows
the duct tape that is holding a lot of video games together.
Shows you how the sausage is truly made.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, I wholeheartedly agree. But
so let's jump just a little ahead now to 2010, the beginning point of our current horrible decade, closer to the release date of our other game in question as well.
Yeah, technology finally catches up and opens up new avenues. We see a pivotal turning point, and the internet is finally good enough for you to broadcast from your own home.
Yeah. Well, sometimes, depending who you have.
Yeah, right.
And not fucking Comcast.
Yeah. Goddamn right, baby.
Oh, you can get a gigabit download.
Stop. They're gonna shoot a beam at my house if you guys keep talking about it.
The towers are looking. Stop.
You can get a gigabit download, but you only get 20 megabit upload. Go fuck yourself.
Do you know those big towers at Command & Conquer that warm up and shoot the laser?
I was gonna say, in Lord of the Rings, when the tower looks at him and he falls over when they're in Mordor, that's what's about to happen to me in my bedroom.
But it makes.
I still liked my reference.
It makes the number one cost of promoting video game tournaments literally nothing, and it ushers in a new era of homegrown tournaments.
Yeah. Especially here in the U.S.,
Yeah, what we
Underground
see is
Rise Up.
Okay, so like in Korea, right? The country's so small. All you have to do, you build one set in Seoul, and anybody in the country that is the best player can travel to it and play.
Yeah.
If you're building a set in the
so
United States
I guess that absolutely goes.
You have to go all around, and this is when you start to see like tournaments in like Marriott's, like the ballrooms. That's when they start appearing.
Yeah, because that's what I was thinking of. I was thinking about when it's just like hotels.
Yeah,
will just rent.
Just hotels and stuff. Yeah. And that's when, because you're able to broadcast it, so that's how you get people to come. A lot of the major tournaments and like obviously you have like majors, super majors now and whatnot, but like if you look at Melee, there's still a lot that are run.
Oh yeah, and since it's Twitch, they can broadcast at any time, anywhere. Yeah. It's from anywhere.
It's irrelevant to Korea, since they have been broadcasting StarCraft games for the better part of a decade now, and they kind of have an established scene. At the time, it was dominated by teams like Slayers. A bit before this, but still phenomenal, and want to give them a mention. But KT Rolster, CJ Entis, STX Seoul, all bankrolled by Cabal companies. With their sponsors, Korean Air, SK Telecom, Shinhan Bank, descendant of the first modern bank in Korea, by the way. And then Blizzard themselves, to some extent. More on that later.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Nothing wrong with a bank rolling something.
Of course, never. No conflicts of interest. But the U.S. was coming off esports as a form of gimmick gaming, like an episode of Gladiators. And Korea was deathly serious about taking the integrity of their sport.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there are probably tons of examples if you go back. It's certainly not viewed the same.
A lot of like... I mean, think about it. If your corporation does something bad, it's actually tied to a person now. Like, that should just explain exactly like what, I guess, the pressure almost that they put themselves on, and also to make sure that they play with the highest levels of integrity. But a lot of these big companies that essentially rule Korea were sponsoring these events, and despite the piss poor pay, awful hours, pressure to keep winning, people were doing their best to legitimize the game as a viable career.
And there it could be. I mean, it's like when you read about how players are treated here with trip costs and other expenses, like all that stuff. Yeah. So this brings us to our first major hot water controversy. Chris, if you may.
All right. So Brood War is flourishing. You have teams out there. And then out of nowhere, allegations come to light via a Team Liquid post by Wax Angel, the editor-in-chief for Team Liquid. So, you can still read it. The forum is still unlocked.
Oh, yeah?
You can't post on it, but it's still there.
Okay.
People aren't familiar with Team Liquid. They're one of the most prolific esports organizations out there.
Oh, yeah.
You may know them from their various teams from around the scene.
Yeah, like whether it's CS Source, League of Legends, Super Smash Brothers, Hearthstone, StarCraft, obviously, StarCraft II, Rainbow Six Siege.
There's tons of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Historically speaking, Team Liquid was primarily known as a StarCraft news site and the forums that they had.
I've checked it.
Yeah. But they also have a ton of other subsections dedicated to other games as well. TL.net has really grown into the largest StarCraft community on the internet, and it actually employs, I think, 4 people full-time in their New York City office to work on the site.
Oh, man.
They do things like they keep track of tournament results.
Yeah, I knew that they have like a stat, wiki on there.
And it's so cool.
A database of just everything.
Yeah, so back in early 2010...
And it's important for that stuff to be properly
it needs
archived.
to be archived. Yeah, I agree. But yeah, so back in early of April 2010, this post comes out, just gets dropped out of nowhere by Wax Angel, starting off by pointing out that the lineups for the upcoming Pro League Round 4 matches weren't announced until right before. Typically, the best way I could put it is like they did like a showcase type thing. So you put up your players first and they'd hype up the match, like almost like a boxing thing, but not in like months before. It would be like, a few days before. And they were saying they were not going to put out their roster until the actual event. So you have high profile players at the time like Up Magic and Luxury. They were dropped from the starting lineups out of nowhere. And the rumors that were circulating was because of match fixing. Yeah. The guy's name is Shin Up Magic Shin Hee-sung, was known for his creative play and entertaining games. And this was the Terran ace for his team, Eastro.
Represent.
Yeah. They actually have aces on their team. The people that they consider like...
the shoe.
Yeah. I'll get into it, like the difference between 1v1 and team leagues. It's still a 1v1 game, but there's a team league variant where you put up your players and you match them. And if you win, you keep going. So what would happen is, like, if one of your players takes out the entire team, it's called a full kill, which is just the dopest thing I've ever
that
heard.
is cool. All right, so now the ace thing totally makes sense.
Yeah, and that's why it's called, like, the ace, yeah. And then you have Luxury. Park Chang-soo was a Zerg player who really burst onto the scene in 2008, making it to the semifinals of the biggest league at the time, Star League. At one point, he was actually known as the undisputed second best Zerg in the world, right next to Jaedong, who is an absolute fucking legend of the game. Still plays. Deadass, yeah, he still does. But yeah, so you fast forward a few more days. It's April 10th, and another user, Dan Reckful Schreiber, he's an American and technically foreign community member, began talking to contacts in South Korea and allegedly paying some of them to talk, which I don't know why I pronounce it like that. It's not a big deal. He comes out with a post letting everyone know that other famous players like Savior, the most dominant professional Brood War player of his time, he won 3 essentially leagues, NBC Game Star Leagues, and one OGN Star League.
Okay.
And he even won BlizzCon.
That's the one I know.
And he was implicated. Yeah, BlizzCon 2008 champion was implicated. And it was later found out that Savior was the organizer of a lot of the match fixes.
Dinger.
So how this all works. So many tournaments use a round-robin format where the best 2 players out of a group of 4 or 5, they advance to what we call going from pools to bracket, right? So what can happen is players who win their early games could lose later games and help influence who gets out of the group stages without risking anything themselves.
Yeah,
so if you're playing like 4 people in a pool, right, and you have to play round robin, you're playing 3 games, right? If you go 2-1, you're almost guaranteed to get out. So if I win my first 2 games and my third is against somebody else and he's like I don't know, maybe my teammate or
a friend
who has other friends that want to make a lot of money on the outcome of the match, you could lose to them and then nothing would really happen in the standing.
I mean, yeah, Austin, that reminds me of just how complicated things can be and how interpersonal relationships can affect things like this.
Yeah, I just realized.
Because it's real hard to be aware of it all through even just constructing brackets in our own our official Hot Button Smash tourney that you hosted last year. Yeah.
I just realized that this is going to go back to back with microtransactions where I talked about the FIFA match fixing thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're right.
I think the best American version of it is a player named Marn, who's in the fighting game community. People know of him.
Yep.
He also briefly owned a League of Legends team, but he is infamous for stacking a bracket at a tournament.
Yeah.
Can't remember what game. I'm sure he's probably moved past it. I don't want to say any negative things about him, mainly because he will whip my ass in any fight. But yeah, so you couple those situations with just outright throws, straight up throws.
Yeah.
Like you could have a Terran player with over an 80% win rate against Zerg, and in the highest league, they would be expected to win against a Zerg player, right? Yeah. Deemed of lesser skill, and even more so if that person is terrible against Terran. Like if you have someone who's winning 80% of their matches against a certain race against somebody who's winning only 30% against the other person, you would expect him to crush them. And sometimes they would just claim or like play slower or like try and hide it.
Right, yeah.
But what you also find is that at the highest level of play in a lot of games, when we talk about cheating or hacking or throws, it's very subtle things that make large differences.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like in like something like Counter-Strike, people who are salty, kids playing in their basement, they use wall hacks and aim bots and trigger bots and spin bots, right? But at the highest levels, if you had hackers, which there's still not a lot, but if you did, they had stuff like When you aimed at a wall and you hit right click then left click, then it would slide to the right slightly to tell you if there's somebody behind the wall. Things like that.
Ooh, that's dirty.
Yeah, things like that.
But now there's one other big factor here, isn't there?
There is. Now you got to add in the gambling, bro. Gambling on anything, including sports, is heavily regulated and just downright illegal.
Yeah.
In Korea. A great example is the recent Olympics back in 2018. Korea built a fucking casino. I mean, it was the cabal that built it, but and they only allowed non-Koreans to enter.
Yeah, that blew my mind.
They built a casino strictly for tourists. It's nuts. And you see a lot of these shady websites.
Of course, the staff is still local.
Yeah,
but,
the staff's local. They're not allowed to gamble. You're allowed to come into work, and that's it. It's like the same way we treat minors in casinos.
Oh, man.
I'm not sure if it's changed, but I remember that you used to be able to walk through casino floors, but only on the main path if you were under 21.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Back when you can smoke in them.
You still can.
Wait, can you smoke in casinos?
Yeah.
Okay.
Some of them.
Some of them?
Yeah. I mean, it's not the best place to, but
Yeah.
But so yeah, naturally,
if you want the ambiance,
of course. All right, if you see these shady websites, right, in places like Macau Prosper, aka the Vegas of the East, Macau's got a very deep and rich history with laundering money in Asian countries, but that's a whole nother thing. Tons of illegal gambling, right?
Yeah.
And from what I could find in the situation, there were 3 brokers eventually indicted.
Yeah, so we got Mr. Park, who is a gaming academy owner, Mr. Jung, who's a K3 third division soccer pro, and Mr. Kim, which you just have seedy gangster. As description here.
So all police reports in Korea, like court depositions about arrests, they don't name the victims ever. They call them Mr. or Mrs. A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Interesting.
Yeah, they call them letters. But this is from people who pieced together who they were through auxiliary anecdotal evidence. But yeah, they have literally, I guess it would be a AAA soccer pro indicted. And it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Yeah. But these brokers, they basically use their relationships with Savior to offer other pro gamers various amounts of money to intentionally throw or lose matches.
Yeah.
Savior would then in turn use his position to either throw the matches himself or get other pros involved.
So what about our numbers in terms of payouts?
Oh, so I've seen figures that range from 2K to about 6.5K. This is all in US dollars.
Right. Okay.
With an average of 4.5 from throwing each game.
Each win, yeah.
Savior was rumored to have made $2 million from scraping off the top. So that's how prolific it was. That by scraping off the top of these 2 to 6.5K throws, he made $2 million from roping other players in, doing the match fixes themselves, and illegal betting on himself and others. In total, there were 16 people implicated.
Rattle them off, man.
11 pros, 3 brokers, 2 bet fixers. They place the bets for people to avoid suspicion.
Oh man! But no scam would be complete without our so-called winnings, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what were the earnings that you could find for each of these?
So the kingpin, Mr. Ma himself, Savior, reported $2 million. The brokers, the gangster, reporting $120K. In total. And Mr. Park, the academy owner, made about $120K. The soccer player made just shy of $10,000.
Okay, those are our brokers.
Yes.
Man, he got the lower end of the. He just didn't.
He must have just been there for a party or something.
Yeah, I was gonna say he sounds like the celebrity that.
Yeah. What are you guys talking about? You don't want to hear this. Yeah, I do. Come on, I'm cool. The other players that were involved, Justin, Mr. Wan, he made about $28,000. Luxury, Mr. Park, made somewhere between $800 and $5,200. And then
That's a gap.
Yeah. And then the 6 other pro gamers involved, none of them made more than $5,200.
Yeah.
Hwasun, Dark Elf, Yellow, Type B, Go-Go, Up Magic, Buy First, and Shinhwa.
Now that, my friend, is a great fucking scandal. I mean, what exactly happened to them all? Do you know?
Yeah. So all of them were banned for life from KESPA, from ever participating in any pro games.
Of course.
There have been instances where some of the players resurfaced outside of Korea to play StarCraft, and almost immediately KESPA denounced them.
Wow, they jumped on it that quick, huh?
Immediately. On top of that, there have been situations where active Korean pro gamers have been suspended for just attending events where banned players participated.
Woo!
Yeah.
Tough.
Very tough. There's
tough but fair.
There's a very famous example in League of Legends. There's a guy who boosted accounts but he was like up and coming on the verge of being like one of the best players in the scene. And he got banned for boosting accounts. Now he essentially streams himself boosting accounts in China.
See, here we just get banned for hucking crabs at people while they're
batteries at David Wright. Yeah.
But what about after that? Like, what were the legal repercussions? Like,
so there were massive fallouts with these players. Many were calling for them to be imprisoned. I saw a lot of comments and message boards from the time and interviews where they were being called disrespectful to the grade of the industry, like a popular commentator, Jae Kyung is his name. A lot of them were, they came out there like, this is so disrespectful to the people who paved the groundwork for what we can do because we're trying to make a living out of this. And you guys are match fixing and throwing everybody's ability because all it does is decredit the entire industry.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's why I was curious if there were like the amount that this spiders out into.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah. I mean, you got to think about it too. In order to be at the time, a StarCraft Brood War professional, you probably played the game 10 hours a day. And
that is a job.
Yeah. That is so much time.
It is way worse. So the coaches of these teams, like nowadays on professional esports teams, they bring in people with sports psychology degrees to be coaches because they understand how to actually coach. These were just dudes that were good at the game. They were like, I'll coach these kids. So
that's a whole separate
So there was a lot of favoritism. So you had like a main squad, right, that was corporately backed. And then you had the practice squad because at the time, everyone thought that if you saw VODs of somebody else playing replays, you would get an advantage. Getting replays from that time outside of the broadcasts are like nigh impossible.
Yeah.
And if you ever got one.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it would leak their strategy.
Yeah.
And you could be able to see everything.
Oh, yeah.
And
it's like something similar happened in sports. People filming practices.
Yeah. Yeah. And
off the same team that deflated the balls, by the way.
Yes. When I say people, I mean the New England Patriots. Whenever cheating is involved.
Fuck them.
It was shortly after he got done his rub and tug in Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good old Robert Kraft. But yeah, so it would take too long to go into the whole honor and pride and how they encourage unity over individuality in Korea. Like, if a celebrity in the States got caught with possession of drugs or is cheating on their significant other, they would go on TV and apologize.
Sometimes they would like erase their
they
their
make
previous
a documentary
works
about themselves afterwards. Why I did it. If in Korea, the same move would be career ending. So the idea of doing something bad shames not only you, but all those around you and who have helped you.
Next, we do have some of the official apologies that were put out that I'm glad you found, which I'm now going to read verbatim. Up Magic, in particular, up first. Firstly, I want to say that I'm sorry. At first, I felt that I needed to apologize sooner, but I couldn't gather the courage to do so. For all the esports officials and fellow gamers, I'm very sorry. And especially for my fans that believed in me, I'm very sorry that I have betrayed you and made you disappointed. For the immaturity of my judgment and the immaturity of my behavior, I will pay the price. I'm sorry, and I'm sorry.
Those last two lines are pretty good indicators. I will pay the price.
Yeah.
That's serious.
Yeah.
Man.
Then there's Gogo's apology. I'm sorry. For a moment, I couldn't resist the temptation and behaved stupidly. I'm very sorry for the fans that believed in me until the end, and I'm sorry to my coach and teammates who are in misery because of me. And I'm sorry to my parents for having to give birth to a horrible son. And I'm sorry to everyone involved in esports. I'm sorry, and I'm sorry, and I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
You know what that got
It's good
them?
to show you how serious it is.
It is. It's very serious. Like,
that's why I was glad you kept these in here, because this doesn't read like any of the previous public apologies that we've ever read on this show.
These people were like, my life is ruined and I'm sorry for being a burden to you.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane. But despite this prostrating, is that the right word? Yeah, prostrating?
Yeah.
Yeah, by the players. Guess what happened?
Yeah, so in October of 2010, sentences were handed down.
Oh, baby.
We have Mr. Wan, who's Justin, player, 18-month sentence, 3 years suspended sentence, probation, 2,400 in fines from his 3 million won, 120 hours of community service, and 40 hours of a gambling treatment program. Then you have Mr. Ma, Savior, 12-month sentence, 2-year suspended sentence, 120 hours of community service as well. Then player by first is a 6 months sentence, 1 year suspended sentence, 40 hours of a gambling treatment program. And then Shinhwa, also player, 6-month sentence, 1 year suspended sentence, 40 hours of a gambling treatment program, which I just, including that, I think just the having to go through
for quite literally cheating in a video game.
Yeah.
They got essentially probation. The one guy must have had a terrible lawyer because he's the only one that got fined. But he got fined $2.4K out of, I think he won 28. So he got fined, which you'll see in the next one is absolutely wild. But
yeah.
without spending another hour of going into detail, this was really the proverbial nail in the coffin that set Brood War back down into the underground.
Definitely.
While all of this was happening, Kespa was also in a heated battle with Blizzard over broadcasting rights. Blizzard finally stepped up. Kespa found himself embroiled in a number of controversies over the years, and it should come as no surprise since it was owned by the Ministry of Culture.
It's like 12 years after their fucking game was...
Yeah.
Like...
Kespa, their parent organization is quite literally the Ministry of Culture, Sports, and Tourism, with, I believe I mentioned it before, Kespa being headed by the chief executive of SK Telecom himself.
Fellow cabals.
Fellow. Of course. For as bad as I'm about to make the Kespa seem, they were also super influential in elevating esports, the brand, and really commercializing the Brood War scene in the process. They managed television and online broadcasts as well as made new events as well.
Yeah, I mean, it is undeniable. But I mean, like, tell us more about the Kespa and the monopoly, like, itself, because that's where this definitely gets sticky.
The Kespa,
even stickier.
It's a regulatory esports body that oversees broadcasting by channels. So on GameNet and NBC Game. What you need to know is that no matter who is hosting whatever league is out there, Kespa always gets their cut. They also run the licensing for pro gamers. So if you want to be a pro gamer recognized in Korea as a pro gamer, not just like, I play this game well, I'm a pro gamer. You have to get a license to be a pro gamer. Kespa issues it.
Okay.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's nuts. Just wait till you hear about how they choose the process because it's nigh impossible unless you have the right connections, which builds the system of how people got in the scene, and it's nuts.
Yeah.
And you have all these crazy things happen where OGN and NBC Game, they made the league. Kespa is like Comcast, and OGN and NBC are like TNT and USA Network. That's the way I think I could put it. Or for other people out there, I guess it would be Cox or Verizon or whatever TV broadcasting. But OGN and NBC, they make Star League and then Pro League. And then Kespa comes in and says, pay us broadcasting rights to your own goddamn league. Yeah.
Of course.
And not 100% in this, but I'm pretty sure Star League means individual players. Pro League means teams. Mm-hmm. Star, think of like Rising Star. Pro League, I don't know, teams. There you go. But Kespa had its own Kespa Cup, and it actually failed miserably, and they couldn't get any sponsors on board for it.
It's important.
Well, who would have thought Comcast would have harder time getting advertising deals than USA Network or TNT, right? When I put it like that, it makes so much more sense,
I'm
right?
still laughing about the Comcast routers. It's just the Philadelphia Overwatch team.
The Philadelphia Comcast routers. But yeah, so what does Kespa do? They sell the rights to Pro League.
Yeah.
Because they get in this argument. They're like, pay us rights to your own goddamn league. And both of them go, why? And they say, well, we're the people responsible for issuing gaming license, and we are the people who are delivering your content to people. You owe us a cut. They basically, you say like, nah. So they just sell the rights to Pro League to another company called IEG, which then subcontracts out the rights to the two broadcasters in a roundabout way for Kespa to get their licensing fees.
That's some Tetris shit.
Yeah. It's absolutely nuts. So this is all happening during the mid-2000s, and eventually by 2007, Blizzard does take notice that Kespa was selling broadcasting rights for Starcraft tournaments without their consent.
Yeah.
Without them knowing.
I got another...
Speaking of people that want their cut.
I got another quote here. In 2007, we were shocked and disappointed to learn Kespa had illegally sold the broadcasting rights for StarCraft tournaments without our consent. With this clear violation of our intellectual property rights, we were forced to become more actively involved in the situation and make our voice be heard.
Kespa responds by saying that Blizzard isn't recognizing their achievements, that they've been so pivotal in the success of
it's just true.
The game. And basically tell them, let us handle it.
Yeah.
Which...
I was going to say, where does that take us now? Like,
the beginning of the end?
Yeah.
Like in 2010... April 2010, the same month as the match fixing comes out, Blizzard broke off negotiations with Kespa. A month later, Blizzard says that they've awarded exclusive rights for all Blizzard games with a 3-year term limit to GOM TV.
GOM TV.
What is GOM TV, you ask? Well, GOM TV had been largely recognized Blizzard's IP rights in the past during their broadcast of Warcraft 3, WoW, and Brood War events. So
Even Brood War, huh?
Blizzard starts supporting GOM Star League prize purses. Big difference. GOM TV is like Twitch TV. So now you got USA Network and TNT versus Twitch TV. So this is huge because Blizzard is flexing all over Kespa.
Yeah.
Saying if your argument of being so influential means nothing, and like with this strike of the pen and the wag of the dick, Kespa and by proxy, OGN and NBC now need to negotiate with GOM TV to even continue running their current leagues. Blizzard comes in and says, we've given all rights to this other person who's not even involved with you guys.
Yeah.
So Casper enters an NDA with GOM TV. You have to. OGN manages to get the 2010 Korean Air on GameNet Star League. What a name. NBC eventually just...
They just bounce.
They say we're done.
This is such a huge mess to clean up.
It's
oh my
such
God.
a huge mess. They eventually... NBC rebrands their channel as a K-pop music video channel. They just leave. Deadass. Lawsuits get thrown around, and GOM TV does leave the broadcasting rights for Brood War on the table because they can't find anyone to commercialize the rights with.
Of course. I mean, that's some major brand damage right there.
Let's see why.
Yeah.
Why couldn't GOM TV, who just literally went around the back of Kespa, who is owned by Cabal Corporations, not find any of the Cabal Corporations to fund or commercialize their rights with? Yeah. So... Kespa is really known for keeping a lot of the business in-house. To put in perspective how much of a stranglehold Kespa had over Brood War, take a guess of what some of the high barriers and anti-competitive practices Kespa used.
I mean, you had to be licensed, like you mentioned, by Kespa as a pro gamer, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what you had to do? You had to enter a Courage tournament in order to obtain a semi-pro license. A grueling tournament where even the greats like Flash and Jadong couldn't do it their first time.
That's a big ask. Like,
with that semi-pro license, you had to be picked up by one of the major Kespa teams, which either occurred on one-off bases or in yearly events. So you you had to perform in Courage tournaments and win to get a semi-pro license, and then even then, you had to get picked up by a major team.
Yeah.
Rarely did exceptions occur. The biggest instance out there is probably Idra, an American, who was awarded a pro gaming license immediately by the team Istro at the time. He was one of the
I was gonna say, I
first
can go online and
Americans.
print a pro gaming license right now for free if I wanted to, probably.
You got one of those like Hallmark card makers.
Fuck it, dude. I'll make them.
Yeah.
I'll Photoshop and pay me.
Yeah.
subscribe to our Patreon and we'll send you some
Pro gaming license.
we'll send you some pro gaming license.
But yeah, so like as a Kespa contracted team, right? Because you were a pro gamer.
That's got to be the thumbnail.
Kespa,
Just like,
pro
it's just
gamer
like a
license.
fake
writing that
ID
down.
holding it up with
like a pro gamer license, but it looks like one of those fake cop certificates they give to 3-year-olds. It's written in Comic Sans and has a bear with balloons on it.
Oh my god! I was thinking like.
By the way, I googled these Kespa pro gamer license. They're legit.
Oh yeah, they look like actually like
real licenses.
Yeah,
I thought it'd be like
I'll drop one in the
McLovin licenses. But yeah, so like if you were licensed by Kespa as a pro gamer and you were on a Kespa contracted team, you were told what events you couldn't play. It's the reason that GOM TV had to cancel its 4th season, as the 3rd season only had 8 of the 12 original pro teams participating in the league.
whoops.
And almost all were like willing to work with Blizzard when StarCraft II was being released.
Yeah, which we're definitely going to get deep into next time. So be sure to tune back in 2 weeks to find out if all of the insanity ended here, which spoilers it didn't.
Yeah.
We're only one StarCraft down.
It took me about 2 hours to try and figure out all this stuff, and I still can't get it 100%. Most of what I said above was a mixture of wiki articles, Korean forums, where people are calling like Kespa like dogs of the government and other mean things.
I found that as well.
Yeah. So why is all this stuff important, right? While all this is going on, you have match fixing and basically every corporation in the world wanting to run away at like full fucking speed.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to get tangled up in this legal mess, and the match fixing was the perfect way for them to essentially back out. It was a great excuse. And it effectively gutted a lot of the sponsorship deals out there that otherwise may have remained even while Kespa was being like complete knobs in the situation. And it really loosened the reins of power that Kespa had on the Blizzard esports scene in Korea, where the previously Old Boys Club was finally open to both outside competitors and corporate sponsorships, mainly by the intervention of Blizzard themselves.
No, it's important, and it certainly affected a lot going forward. I super appreciate all the hard-hitting research here, trust me, because this was a big one. Yeah. And we've probably been, I mean, you started research on this a while ago, and when you were like PMing me some stuff, it's just you'd fall deeper down the rabbit hole. Where I think I messaged you one morning. I was up to like 5:30 a.m. trying to make sense of all of this.
Looking at Korean prefecture arrest reports that are like loosely translated.
And you dug deeper and deeper, more than I ever could.
Still don't understand it, but things might have turned out differently if Kespa could have just held face with the negotiations, claiming they were the sole reason StarCraft was as popular as it was in Korea.
Yeah.
But what started as holding all the cards, right? They had the money, they had the corporate sponsorships, they had the teams, which had the top talents, mainly because they made a system so impossible that the barrier to entry was so high, all they had was top talent and a lack of appetite for anything considered competition. But they were fading quite quickly away as match fixing eroded away at the foundation of the proud birthplace of modern esports.
But the people got to know, man. But thank you, Chris. Can't wait to have you back next week. In our follow-up episode, part 2, we're going to look more at Kespa and Blizzard's long-standing feud and how, once again, match fixing chips away at it all, leaving us with what we have in the industry today. And we'll also get into StarCraft II and some more as well. But yeah, seriously, that was, I don't want to take credit. That was seriously like fucking all you, man, to get this all out after all these weeks and months of this shit. It has to feel pretty good.
Let me tell you how passionate I am about viciously eroding away at people who just try and cheat people.
And let me tell you again, I think I speak for myself and Austin. We appreciate you telling all this to Randy because, of course, we already knew most of it.
Yeah. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? Should I give people an update on the Phantom Lord situation and the T Martin?
No, we'll have to have you back on our update. We do a yearly update cast.
That's fun. Yeah, I forgot. When will that be? July
November.
Or August? November? Oh, I was way off. I'm sorry.
Yes, our 1 year anniversary is in November.
Yeah, those months.
Yeah, where I can.
We started recording in July.
Okay, that's why I got confused.
We started releasing in November.
I can't wait to fucking talk about Kingdoms of Amalur again.
What a great game.
That game was dead and buried for years, and then we did an episode about it, and now it won't stay dead.
Yeah, it is not a knock of the quality of the game. It's the fact that it keeps popping back up in the news cycle after being dormant for fucking forever. They just recently announced the
remastered edition.
What is it called? I forget now.
Kingdoms of Amalur
It's Re-Reckoning.
Re-Reckoning.
Do you think, who'd they get to do it? The people who work at the DMV in Rhode Island, or?
It should be state funded.
It is. Right?
Yeah, we'll have to dig back into that fucking come November, I guess.
Thank God.
Which by then it'll actually be out, right? Like
I can't wait to.
It comes out in August, I think.
Okay. You're telling me I need to hold on this information about James Varga fucking Phantom Lord for 6 months?
Yes.
No. Yeah, I'm doing it.
Yeah. Trust me, we hold on to a lot of information. For years. All right. Well,
fire up your plugs there.
This is probably going to be a long one. I forget how to do this. Thanks for listening. This probably is one of our longest episodes, I think, and it's only part 1, so
heck yeah,
strap in.
All in all, it'll still probably be shorter than Tetris.
Yeah, Randy can go forever about Tetris. Trust me.
You just got to find something you're passionate about and make the episode 4 hours.
I made a Halo episode.
That was 2 parts.
It was,
and you kept it concise and professional. We just leave it long and unabridged.
Wait, was Halo
2 parts?
Okay, I was gonna say Destiny was 2 parts as well.
The Xbox episode was 1 part.
Okay. Our E3 episode was pretty long. That might.
Well, that was all stream of consciousness shit, though. There's a lot to talk about.
It's true.
Our new E3 episode is shorter. All right,
we're diving. We
gotta stop talking. You can find us on the interwebs at Hot Button Cast. That's our socials as well as our website, hotbuttoncast.com. There we have all of our many episodes. You can search for any topics you want. If this is your first episode, we got fucking 65 more at this point or something. So dive on in.
I'm going to leave all my shit here.
And and follow us on socials, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, like I said, at Hot Button Cast for updates and news and when our episodes release and
especially
and
stuff
clips
with
and
release
stuff like
schedule
that.
lately and stuff.
And yeah, I think that's it. Oh yeah, like and subscribe on iTunes.
Really helps us out.
Wait, no, not like and that's YouTube.
We've already been over this.
Subscribe on iTunes,
But
and
like and
Spotify.
subscribe on YouTube, though.
Yeah, follow
Like
us
and
on
subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on.
Facebook's the
you're
one.
confusing me. Shut up.
Like us on Twitter.
Shut up.
Check out my Imgur.
Ah! Review us on iTunes. Helps with the algorithm. That stupid computer software that keeping us down.
Yeah.
If you're an advertiser,
Shout out to the people that leave comments about your podcast.
We love them.
I want to frame that.
Yeah, me too.
we're your advertiser. Will sell out instantly. I swear to God. And
Yeah, if you want to grease our pockets, if you're some sort of StarCraft match mixer and you want us to do some sort of promoting underground or something,
the website that they used to gamble all of this was, which you could check out, which is still active and flourishing. The win rates are astronomical. I found this site out myself. Yeah. No, you think Jason could grease over this outro with just the Terran OST music as a good fade out?
he will now.
Yeah, he will. now that you said it.
He did it with Tetris, didn't he?
Yeah, it was dope.
He also did it with the PlayStation episode with that Eiffel 65 song.
Hell yeah.
It's got to be the part that's like.
But
I should say, is there anything you want to plug, by the way?
No, I'm very limited on social media. Oh, I should pull up like my Discord name or something.
And lastly, before we get out of here, word of mouth. You like the podcast, spread it around to your friends, tell them about it.
Yeah.
Get people interested.
Yes,
that helps us out more than any algorithm could. So, and with that,
thank you, Austin. Thank you,
we're
Chris.
getting out of here.
And thank you, Chris. I think it's dark outside. Let's see.
Not yet.
No,
Almost.
All right.
All right.
Watch out for the Comcast tower.
Oh, I can't wait.
Goodbye,
Don't do nothing,
everybody.
will you?